Gladiolus Valley. A faint silvery light shimmers from the center of the ceiling, soon overshadowed by a man's silhouette. Jerome Adams stands calmly in place, waiting as footsteps draw closer to him while Wilson Sarge curls his lips behind him. Without turning around, it's hard to tell whether Wilson is looking at the silent Jerome Adams or at Neil Hume, who lies barely conscious on the floor.
내가 너한테 회진을 부탁한 줄은 몰랐는데, 키아누.
석 교수님 상태를 확인하고 싶어서 온 겁니다. 안정적이지 않다고 들어서요. 그런데 별다른 이상은 없어 보이니 이만 가보겠습니다.
Jerome Adams rises from Neil Hume's side, his expression unchanged. When he turns, he realizes Wilson has already blocked the room's only exit.
가도 된다고 한 적 없다. 너는 사람의 생사를 내가 준 약 때문에 완전히 미쳐버렸는지 아닌지로 판단하나 보군. 내가 준 다른 업무보다 우선순위가 더 높나?
오해입니다, 선생님. 실험실의 다른 중요 데이터와 마찬가지로 언제든 석 교수를 안전하게 이송할 수 있도록 하는 것. 저는 선생님 말씀을 실천하고 있을 뿐이에요.
실천?
Wilson echoes, seemingly unconvinced. His gaze sweeps over Jerome Adams before settling once more on Neil Hume, curled up in a corner of the room and racked with pain. The shrunken figure trembles slightly, as if he wants to lift his head and hold someone's gaze, even if just for a brief moment. But Neil's strength had already deserted him. Wilson merely shrugs at the sight.
됐다. 내 말을 그렇게 깊이 새겼다니 조언 하나 하마.
Though his tone remains blunt, Wilson's gaze flickers briefly as he looks at Adams. For a moment, it seems like he wants to ease the tension, but that thought is quickly pushed aside.
지금은 너한테 아주 중요한 시기야. 금난 계곡의 모든 연구원을 미림시에서 떠나게 했다간 너무 소란스러워져서 일어나선 안 되는 문제들을 불러올 거야. 그래서 우리 후원자들은 반드시 선별적으로 나누어서 철수해야 한다고 주장했다.
Footsteps echo in the room once more as Wilson slowly circles Adams, who remains standing in place.
나는 이러나 저러나 오랫동안 몸담은 연구소를 이렇게 포기하고 싶지 않아. 연구소의 모든 것이 많은 과거를 떠올리게 하거든. 내가 어떻게 여기까지 왔는지 되새겨줘.
Wilson's gaze sweeps over the common experimental equipment in the lab. At this moment, it's almost as if he can see beyond them, back to distant memories, things he struggles to let go of.
안타깝게도 지금 사람들에게는 여길 떠나는 노아의 방주에 오르는 것 말고는 더 나은 길이 없네. 연구원들이 미림시와 연구를 방해하는 사람들로부터 멀어져 노아의 방주에 오를 수 있는 소중한 티켓이지.
But memories are just echoes of the past. Wilson quickly snaps out of the reverie, refocusing on him. As if assessing something, he pauses thoughtfully before continuing.
그걸 누구에게 줄지는 결국 내가 결정하지.
알고 있습니다, 선생님. 최근 중요한 실험 데이터를 옮기느라 바쁘셨으니 함께 금난 계곡을 떠날 사람을 정하는 것도 당연히 선생님께 달려있겠죠.
맞아. 그러니 지금 너한테 가장 좋은 방법은 코앞에 중요한 기회를 놓치지 않는 거라네. 연구에 집중하고 선택적으로 친구를 사귀고 쓸모없어진 인간관계는 정리하는 거지. 예를 들어
Wilson pauses once more. He then wrinkles his nose as if trying to avoid an unpleasant smell.
이 독한 냄새는 뭐지? 뭔가 비싼 향수 냄새 같군. 내가 오기 전에 또 누가 왔었나? 설마.
그렇게 중요한 사람은 아닙니다. 왔다고 해도 지금 상황에 아무런 영향을 미치지 않았을 거예요.
Before Wilson utters a name they both know, Adams quickly cuts him off. Wilson studies his blank face, raises an eyebrow, and says nothing more.
사리 분별은 제법 하는구나. 연구에 전혀 도움되지 않는 사람들은 하루라도 빨리 정리하는 게 좋아.
As his words fade, a long, eerie silence hangs in the air. The increasingly labored breathing from where Neil lies is the only sound that breaks the stillness. At first, no one pays it any mind. But as the noise becomes harder to ignore, Wilson loses his patience. He brushes past Adams.
얼른 가서 네 일이나 해. 나는 환자 검진할 때 다른 사람이 알짱거리는 거 싫어하거든.
그럼 이따 뵙겠습니다, 선생님.
Wilson no longer pays attention as Adams quietly prepares to exit the room. Just as Jerome reaches for the cold metal door handle, he glances back over his shoulder. Perhaps it's just a coincidence, but he notices Neil with his filthy, unkempt hair trembling slightly as if he's been listening to their conversation the whole time. Before entering the N2X headquarters, you pause with your hand on the door handle, waiting quietly for a moment. All that can be heard from the other side is a faint click, making it impossible to tell what's happening inside. Might as well just go in. Sticking to these guesses won't get me anywhere. N2X headquarters. As everything before you gradually comes into view under the familiar lighting, you finally spot the source of the sound. Click, click. Luke is repeatedly pressing the remote control in his hand, adjusting the screen. Here, I'm not late, am I? Something feels off. Though everything appears to be business as usual at first glance, the clicking in the air still creates an awkward tension. Luke looks up in your direction, giving a slight nod.
아직 회의 시작 안 했어. 백은우 씨 옆에 빈자리 있어. 네 자리야.
Ah, thanks. You glance at the spot Luke mentioned before finishing your sentence. Neatly arranged mugs and sandwiches sit on the table in front of the armchair, a reminder that you rush here without lunch. Did Luke prepare them, or was it someone else? The smell of hot food immediately puts you at ease, though through the steam rising from the mug, you and Luke share a brief glance. He seems like he wants to see something but quickly shifts his attention back to the big screen. He switches the items on the screen every few seconds, randomly cycling through them for everyone to see. Among them are the missing persons reports for Neil Hume and Gian Van Hagen, NSB photos of Artem's house, and statements from the hired thugs. Looking at these files and photos, a sense of undeniable reality resurges. Since you and Arthur managed to escape the hired thugs, Neil's kidnapping is no longer a secret.
앉으세요.
Mr. Wing? You nod at Artem and turn your attention back to Luke, who is still adjusting the screen. Once you sit down, he stops aimlessly switching pages and hands you the remote. The screen behind him, now dark again, perfectly reflects those sitting on the sofa. If it weren't for the grim expressions on everyone's faces, they could easily be mistaken for an audience in a movie theater waiting for the screen to light up.
이제 다 왔네요. 저번에 얘기한 대로 회의 진행 부탁할게.
Alright. You respond calmly, knowing that it took a long time to even reach this simple consensus. Autumn's residence.
그러니까 석 교수가 납치된 걸 알고 나서도 우리한테 바로 알리지 않았다는 건가요?
Luke just needs to interrogate the captured thugs to understand what's going on with Neil Hume. That's why, shortly after you and Autumn left the rooftop that night, you were intercepted and brought into this impromptu meeting.
당시에는 걱정되는 부분이 많았어요. 지금 생각해보니 확실히 조금 부적절한 판단이었네요.
아무리 그래도
걱정? 그게 아니라 두렵다는 소리로 들리는데요.
From the corner comes a low, murmured remark from Marius. His demeanor seems almost unnaturally calm considering the circumstances. Perhaps his calmness is just a mask, a fragile layer of ice over turbulent waters poised to shatter at any moment.
두렵다고요? 유신우 씨, 그게 무슨 말이죠?
무언가를 겁낼수록 그 상황이 실제로 일어나는 법이죠. 지금 상황에 딱이네요. 예전에 내 추측이 사실이 될까봐, 석 교수의 행방이 우리 형과 연관이 있을까봐 두려운 거죠. 석 교수에게 아무 문제가 없다고 확신하는데 왜 계속 소식을 숨기는 거죠?
숨긴 적 없어요. 당시 어떤 생각이었는지는 이미 분명히 말했고요.
사람들이 듣고 싶은 건 변명이 아니라 대답이에요, 백은우 씨.
Meanwhile, standing by the door, Vin casts you a familiar look that seems to say, you know what to do. As everyone holds their stance, even the most rational words can swiftly turn into a weapon wielded to clash with opposing views. As for the only way to diffuse the tension, after a lengthy discussion, everyone agrees that I should chair each meeting during the investigation. Not because you're the most trustworthy, but because when no perfect consensus can be reached, people instinctively choose the one seen as neutral. But once you take on the moderator role, new problems emerge, specifically how to get everyone silent and standoffish to start communicating openly again. What concerns me most is what the NSP plans to do after that night. You make up your mind and first turn to Luke. By the way, Luke, I saw you already had the testimony records from the captured thugs when I came in. Perhaps influenced by that night's conversation, you instinctively want to check on Arthur. A few days ago, he updated everyone saying the police found what seemed to be Finn Jackson's body at a landfill. Autumn quickly notices your gaze and speaks up first.
경찰 측에서 김태석의 최신 사법 감정 보고서를 보내주길 기다리고 있어요. 빠르면 아마 오늘 안에 소식이 있을 거예요. 그 전에 먼저 국정원 쪽 상황을 확인하는 게 좋겠어요.
That night, you had offered to lead the meetings partly because of Vin's suggestion. Now, sitting on the sofa across from you, Vin meets your gaze directly, a slight smile crossing his face. Did he anticipate this too? Despite the thought, you can't help but feel a bit reassured by his smile. Let's begin with NSP's updates. Luke, would you mind? If I hadn't volunteered to chair the follow-up meetings that night, Marius and Arthur might already be at odds. To keep things calm and safe, you switch on the screen with the remote while stealing a quick glance at Marius. He looks unbothered, casually toying with leftover party poppers in the room. He then gives you a playful wink. Following his gaze, you can tell he's nudging you to focus on Luke, the only one with updates on the NSB. No time to waste. You pull up the latest NSB materials on the screen, and everyone, including Mary, shifts their focus to the meeting. Alright, let's get started. First, on NSB's latest moves. If possible, I'd like to go over the details again.
최대한 간단하게 설명할게. 김태석 배후의 범죄 조직에 대한 수사를 통해 국정원 측에서는 이미 석 교수에 대한 기본적인 상황을 파악했어요. 화면을 진술 기록 페이지로 넘겨줄래?
Sure. You follow Luke's lead, waiting for him to continue.
석 교수가 실종된 이유는 납치 때문이었지만 며칠 동안 체포된 사람들을 신문한 결과 범죄 조직의 납치를 지시한 고객은 사생활을 중요하게 생각해서 개인정보를 전혀 드러내지 않았어요.
So, does this mean that even the NSB can't figure out who ordered Professor Hume's kidnapping? But hoping to find a break in this seemingly irrefutable conclusion, you quickly shift your gaze from the screen to Luke. Hold on a second. Look, are you saying this client managed to keep everything airtight under these circumstances? After all, based on the criminal organization's behavior before they were caught, they've been in recent contact with this person. As long as there's any communication, there are bound to be traces of personal details left behind, right?
일부 국정원 사람들 생각도 마찬가지라 체포된 사람들을 계속 신문하고 있어. 그런데 석 교수 납치 사건은 시간이 꽤 지났기도 하고 모든 범죄 조직원이 체포된 것도 아니라서 현재 납치 사건에 직접적으로 관여했고 그 고객과도 접촉이 있는 사람은 한 명뿐이야.
With a flick of the remote, the page switches to Finn Jackson's personal information, the one the investigation team saw when they first got the case. Sitting across from you, Vin, who's been quietly observing everyone since the meeting started, finally looks at Artem and clears his throat.
들어보니까 돌고 돌아 다시 난관에 부딪힌 것 같네요. 많은 단서를 얻은 것 같지만 모든 수수께끼의 핵심 인물인 김태석은 이미 이 세상에 없을 확률이 높아요.
Just a few days ago, the police notified everyone a new physical evidence related to Finn Jackson's case is being reanalyzed along with the existing evidence. Though it hasn't been stated outright, everyone has begun to realize that Finn Jackson, once thought to have fled, is likely already dead. Mr. Wing. Hearing Vin mention the bottleneck you're all facing, a subtle shift that is almost imperceptible crosses Artem's thoughtful expression. Vin immediately notices and quickly changes the subject.
물론 아무것도 얻은 게 없다고는 할 수 없어요. 우리가 의심한 것처럼 석 교수가 유신성 씨 납치에 관여했다는 혐의를 받고 있다고 가정해보면 지금 있는 증거는 그 혐의를 전혀 뒷받침해주지 못해요. 석 교수도 엄격하게 통제되어 있으니까. 유신성 씨를 찾는데 방해 요소가 하나 줄어들었으니 앞으로 다른 가능성을 중점적으로 살펴봐도 좋을 것 같아요. 이번만큼은 윤노아 씨의 의견에 동의해요. 물론 이번 한 번만요.
The implication of Vin's words is clear. Since Maris is the only one who has directly asked Artem about Neil Hume's whereabouts, Vin's clarification eases much of the lingering tension. But Artem's expression remains tense, his eyes fixed on Finn Jackson's photo on the screen.
범죄 조직에서 또 김태석과 관련된 정보를 털어놓은 게 있나요?
유일하게 확실한 건 범죄 조직 또는 김태석의 동료들이 그 고객과 같은 생각을 가지고 있다는 거예요. 그 계약서가 아니더라도 모두 김태석을 제거하고 싶어하는 이유를 가지고 있어요.
They all wanted him dead.
말하자면 긴데 범죄 조직원 중 한 명이 자백했어. 김태석 실종 사건이 일어나기 훨씬 전에. 그 고객이 다른 사람을 처리해달라 의뢰한 적 있대.
Who was the target?
최예월.
What? Although her driver, Jacob Yates, mentioned that Tara Upton had dealt with dangerous individuals in the past, hearing that these philanthropists ended up on the criminal organization's list still didn't quite add up to you. Did the arrested thugs mention the reasons?
그 조직원이 자세한 이유를 횡설수설 얘기하긴 했는데 거의 불법적인 이유야. 얘기 들어보니까 최예월도 깨끗한 사람은 아니더라고. 그 고객과 밝히지 못할 이해관계 충돌이 있는 것도 당연해. 조직원들의 말이 사실인지는 둘째치고 조직에서 손을 쓰기도 전에 최예월과 김태석 모두 실종됐어. 그 뒤에 무슨 일이 있었는지는 다들 알겠죠?
Tara Upton was a mission target for those thugs. Her situation directly affected the success of their mission. They didn't want to mess it up. Their mission was suddenly interrupted. Was that why they wanted Jackson out of the picture?
듣기로는 그런 것 같아. 조직 입장에서 봤을 때 김태석은 완전히 불안정한 요소니까. 다른 사람의 돈줄을 끊었고 흔히 말하는 업계 규칙을 무너뜨렸어. 다음에 무슨 짓을 할지도 예측하기 어렵고 말이야. 그리고 그 고객도 김태석의 행동을 이해할 수 없었어. 생각은 완전히 같지 않지만 양측 모두 김태석이 제멋대로 행동하는 걸 두고 볼 수 없었던 거지.
Even with this assessment, Luxton remains somewhat uncertain. Based on the criminal organization's motives, the buyer's intentions, and the latest case developments, it seems highly likely that Finn Jackson was disposed of by them. But no definitive conclusion can be made until the latest forensic report arrives. Meanwhile, due to your agreement with Artem to solve the case quickly and locate Neil Hume, you need to accelerate your efforts. Regardless of when the report arrives, we must proceed with the next steps immediately. This means the investigation will likely need to focus on Finn Jackson's background and connections.
네, 그게 바로 모든 것의 시작이자 모든 걸 푸는 열쇠예요. 왠지 비밀스러운 사람이죠?
With a light-hearted remark, Maris looks around the room, his gaze finally resting on you.
그럼 다음 계획은 뭐예요, 누나?
First, you instinctively glance at Artem, who has been working with you during this time. But he's staring at his phone, frowning. After a brief pause, he interrupts you.
잠시만요. 방금 경찰 측에서 메일이 왔어요. 미안하지만 경찰이 보낸 이 파일을 스크린에 띄워줄 수 있나요? 지금 바로 보내줄게요.
From the police, is that? When the electronic report appears on the big screen, Artem finally breaks his silence and stands up from the sofa.
이제부터는 제가 설명하죠. 이 보고서에 따르면 지금까지 사건 현장에서 발견된 건 캐리어 1개와 비닐봉지 하나예요. 첫 번째, 그러니까 경찰이 가장 먼저 발견한 최예월의 시신이 들어있을 거라 생각한 캐리어는 시신의 신체 조직과 장기가 심하게 손상돼서 검사 속도가 많이 늦어졌어요. 그래서 처음에 경찰은 캐리어의 남은 개인 소지품을 통해 사망자를 최예월로 추정했죠. 그런데 사법감정기관이 확인한 결과 캐리어 속 시신은 여러 명이 섞여 있고 그 사망자들 중 최예월은 없다고 해요.
사망자들의 신원은 확인됐나요?
아직이요. 미림시에 장기간 거주한 기록도 없고 출입국 기록도 찾아내지 못했어요.
What's going on? The unidentified victims stir a deep sense of unease within you. As you affront thought, Mary shifts in his seat.
누군가 일부러 상황을 혼란스럽게 만들고 있는 것 같네요. 경찰과 사법감정기관에서 잘못된 판단을 내리도록 말이에요. 게다가 범인에게는 사용 가능한 인체 장기를 얻을 수 있는 루트도 있어야 해요. 정말 대단한 사람이네요. 그럼 그 비닐봉지는요? 거기에도 뭔가 섞여 있는 건 아니죠?
아니요. 비닐봉지는 은밀하게 숨겨져 있었는데 아무도 못 찾을 거라 생각했는지 별다른 짓은 하지 않았어요. 봉투에서 나온 시체는 김태석으로 확인됐어요.
So, his time of death.
여기요. 새로 발견한 신체 조직의 부패 정도를 볼 때 김태석의 버려진 차가 발견되기 훨씬 전에 사망한 걸로 추정돼요.
A dead man couldn't drive, let alone commit a crime, a thought that was reflected on everyone's face in the room. You then carefully recall what you observed during your last visit to the landfill site and quickly realize something is off. There were indeed signs of human activity near the abandoned car at the landfill, but that couldn't have been left by Finn Jackson. In other words, I need to go back again to confirm whether we've misinterpreted the evidence.
누구랑 갈 생각이에요?
Huh? You snap your head up from your thoughts only to find Vin looking at you with a gentle gaze. It would be hasty to say he's just speculating. Right now, it seems like he's subtly manipulating the person he's speaking to, observing as they make their decision. Are you sure?
제가 다른 사람의 생각을 좌지우지하려 한다고 생각하시나요? 그럼 여기서 분명히 말씀드리고 싶어요. 정신과 의사의 관점에서 봤을 때 최근 조사팀 내 누군가의 행동은 분명히 주목할 만한 심리 상태를 나타내고 있어요. 그 사람과 함께 행동하는 게 효율이 더 높다는 점은 부정하지 않지만 효율성 뒤에 숨겨진 리스크도 충분히 예측할 수 있죠. 그래서 당신의 생각을 다시 듣고 싶어요.
I see. What about others?
다들 당신 계획에 따르고 싶어 할 거예요.
Uncharacteristically, Artem doesn't argue further. Instead, he responds with certainty. Rather than confronting each other directly, everyone in the room seems to have placed the decision in your hands once again. Perhaps they have reached the same conclusion. They want you to make the decision based solely on your own thoughts without any external influence. You pause for a moment before giving your answer, one that's been set by a prior agreement and won't waver no matter what. Because that night, Artem had repeatedly proved his determination, and you have no reason to ignore that fact. I will continue to investigate the case with Mr. Wing. As it stands, Mr. Wing has already established a close connection with the police in the investigation, and we should not overlook that. We should finish what we started. I will see the case through with Mr. Wing until the end. Any objections? You hold your breath and wait, expecting the debate to follow. Unexpectedly, Vin, who seems most likely to voice objections, relaxes and nods.
누구의 허락도 받을 필요 없어요. 저희는 그저 당신의 계획을 듣고 싶었을 뿐이에요.
Well then,
그럼 시간이 없으니 또 각자 움직여야겠네요. 그렇죠?
perhaps to ease your concerns, Vin follows up. As for Artem, he gives you a quick glance before grabbing the car keys from his briefcase, as always. His intent is clear. Come with me. Jackson's autopsy report. A new autopsy report issued by the Judicial Forensic Institute after re-examining Finn Jackson's body, confirming his cause of death and time of death. Victim Jared Kuhn. age 33, cause of death, blunt force trauma to the brain, resulting in a cerebral contusion. Notes, the time of death is estimated to be 1 month before the discovery of the abandoned vehicle. In addition, the victim's body shows signs of severe decomposition. Unaware of the buyer's identity, the member of the criminal organization claimed that the individual who requested the kidnapping of Neil Hume never once disclosed any personal information during their dealings. Inside the car. It is unusually quiet in the car on the way to the landfill. Autumn only relaxes his grip on the steering wheel and lets out a breath when he pulls over near your destination.
아까 저 대신 말해줘서 고마워요.
The sunlight from outside the window gently falls on his face, and you can almost see the soft, fine hairs on his skin. Seeing this, you can't help but smile to yourself before shaking your head. I didn't do it for your sake, I just shared my decision with everyone. Since we made that agreement that night, I won't stop you from searching for traces related to Professor Hume until the case is fully resolved. Let's support each other until everything is settled, okay?
네. 아까 같은 일은 다시 없을 거예요. 약속할게요.
He stubbornly follows up in a hushed voice even after you have reassured him. It sounds like a promise, but also as if he's making up his mind. You don't feel the need to point it out, instead resting your hand on the grab handle. I trust you. Landfill. As you open the car door and step out into the landfill, the blinding sunlight forces you to squint. The scene is unchanged from the first time you came here, yet you know an untold truth lies hidden within it, waiting to be uncovered. This time, the goal is to uncover what happened the night the car was abandoned here. After confirming with the police on duty that you have permission to enter the crime scene, you and Artem come to the area near the abandoned car once again. You both walk around the car again to make sure that you've discovered every possible clue. Nothing seems to have changed, even those dry footprints remain as they were. 1 second, Mr. Wing. If Finn Jackson's time of death is earlier than the time this car was left here, then these footprints can't possibly belong to him.
맞아요. 죽은 사람이 다시 일어나서 걸을 수는 없을 테니까요. 하지만 그렇게 위장할 수는 있죠.
Imposters? You mean someone might have pretended to be Finn Jackson that night? You pause for a moment to gather your thoughts before speaking. Could it be Tara Upton? It's completely possible that she wore men's shoes to create the illusion that Finn Jackson was here.
제가 다시 한번 확인해 볼게요.
You nod and step away a bit, making room for Artem to squat down and examine the footprints. When he gets up, he lets out a soft sigh.
최예월은 아닐 거라고 생각해요. 아니면 애초에 여자가 남자로 위장해 남긴 발자국이 아닐 거예요. 우선 걷는 습관이랑 체중의 영향 때문에 남자랑 여자의 발자국 깊이가 차이가 나거든요. 이건 성인 남성의 발자국이라고 생각해요. 게다가 정말 발자국에 문제가 있다면 경찰도 처음부터 김태석이 남긴 발자국이라고 결론 짓지 않았을 거예요.
If so, then... Based on the business card dropped inside, Tara Upton had definitely been in this car. Since Finn Jackson was already dead by then, he can be ruled out as someone who might have shared the car with her. Could she have had an accomplice? If so, who could that person be? The trunk of the car is still open. We didn't check the trunk closely the first time we were here.
여긴 좀 더럽네요. 제가 할게요.
As Autumn leaves the trunk door wide open, dust immediately drifts down. You instinctively take a step back. Through the cloud of dust, you finally see what's inside the trunk. It's all junk, pretty much what I thought. Huh? Wait. Taking the risk of getting a face full of dust and sneezing uncontrollably, you seal yourself and lean into the trunk, peering into its depths. A somewhat old toolbox lies in the corner, and when you take a closer look, you find that isn't the toolbox less dusty than the rest of the trunk?
네. 이쪽 틈새를 잘 보면 다른 곳보다 먼지가 덜 쌓여 있어요.
Could the toolbox have been moved, causing the slight difference in accumulated dust?
그럴 수도 있어요. 경찰한테 다시 한번 확인해 볼게요. 다들 이견이 없다고 하면 공구함을 열어보죠.
Okay. Autumn soon comes back with Darius, and you begin to re-examine the toolbox.
사실 저희도 자동차 수리 공구함의 먼지를 눈여겨봤습니다. 현장의 다른 상황과 종합해봤는데 현재 누군가 차량을 수리한 흔적은 없습니다.
No one repaired this car, then. What was the intention behind moving this toolbox? You look closely at everything in the trunk and then you spot another thing that seems odd. The bottom cover seems to have been open. Miss Wing? Before you even ask, Autumn nods at the officer with you.
죄송하지만 이 덮개판도 들어 올려주실래요? 안쪽을 확인하고 싶어서요.
들어드릴 수는 있는데 안쪽엔 스페어 타이어 외에는 아무것도 없어요.
A few moments later, Autumn and the officer lift the cover together.
무슨 문제라도 있나요?
At first glance, it's just a normal spare tire. However, upon taking a closer look, the way the tire's rubber layer connects with the wheel's rim looks strangely familiar. Wait, I saw Jerome Adams repair a tire at the White Horse Association, although it was for a toy car. You watch Jerome Adams carefully pry the tire off the rim a little bit before putting it back on. The way that tire looked after that operation is very similar to the one you see right now. Could this tire be? It can't be possible. You shake your head with your eyes closed, trying to clear your mind. Arthur notices what you're doing and looks at you with concern, prompting you to tell him what you think. Mr. Wayne, the traces here are a little strange. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but it really looks like the tire was taken apart and put back together again.
떼어냈다고요?
I can't tell him I got this idea from watching Jerome Adams repair a toy car. That would be so weird. To your relief, he doesn't question further. Instead, he whispers something to the officer.
네, 그냥 떼주세요. 부탁드릴게요.
What? You are really taking it apart? Wait. The officer quickly pries the tire off faster than you expected. Perhaps if no one had done the same thing before, it would have required more effort from him. You lean in curiously to see what the inside of the tire looks like. Something stuffed in there. Was it Finn Jackson who did this, or someone else? The tire is completely removed. You wait with Artem as the officer takes out the items stuffed inside. The first thing that comes out is a folded piece of yellowed paper. Is it a handwritten letter?
잠시만요. 여기 이 종이에 뭐라고 쓰여 있어요?
Confession is written at the top of the page. Artem slightly furrows his brow as if confused by this word.
김태석의 필체인 것 같은데 일부러 여기 끼워둔 걸까요? 받는 사람 이름도 없고 말투도 조금 이상하네요.
It is. Artem carefully unfolds the paper in front of you. He reads faster than you, and you can hear his breathing quicken as he reads, as if he is trying to surprise something. Only after you finish the letter and look up at him does he sigh with a hint of helplessness.
김태석의 과거 이력을 조사하다가 그 사람의 교도소 친구를 찾아간 적이 있어요. 김태석이 강도죄로 체포돼서 감옥에 가기 전에 김태석의 모친이 찾아왔었다고 해요. 백지 상태의 자백서를 가져왔는데 김태석이 모든 걸 자백하고 절도부터 살인까지 인정하길 바랐다고 하네요.
In the charges against Finn Jackson several years ago, the prosecution initially accused him of burglary and the murder of a father and son.
이 종이 아주 오래전에 만들어진 것 같아요. 그런데 편지에 적힌 필체를 보면 최근에 쓴 것 같아요. 김태석이 몇 달 전에 적은 게 분명해요.
So, the content? Filled with densely packed handwriting, this letter appears less like a confession and more like a reflection on past events. Considering that he had received little education, it's understandable that the text includes many grammatical and spelling mistakes. Since I was 20, I've been carrying a crime that shouldn't never been mine, and my whole life changed after. An unpunished murderer, a born bad seed, a waste of space. That's what they call me. I thought I could just go on living anyway, but then I got a photo. A photo? Finn Jackson's following words are more ambiguous, stating that he received a photo of Tara Upton from some unnamed sender. And he's in that photo. The second I saw it, I knew it all. I was free, and the real killer's still out there, free as can be, pretending to be normal. How could he be so sure? Did he not check his writing? It should have been she, not he. Your doubts and curiosity quickly increase, but you decide to finish reading this letter first before searching the tire for that photo. Mom, I can finally write something down on the confession form you gave me. My conscience is clear. I finally found them, the culprit. Now I have to get close to them.
그리고 김태석은 그 범인한테 접근하기 위해 온라인 예약 기사 신분을 포함해서 많은 것들을 준비했어요.
Just to get close to them?
여기 적힌 말투를 보니까 그런 것 같네요. 나중에 보복하려고 했을 가능성도 있지만 처음에는 당사자를 찾아가 진실을 밝히려는 목적이었을 거예요. 그리고 이미 모든 걸 마주할 준비를 마친 걸로 보여요.
Artem slowly passes his finger across the letter. No one who sent me the photo is up to no good, I bet. But so what? People like me, we always have to pay more to get what we want. That's where the letter ends. It's almost like a prophecy come true or a cruel joke played by fate. He really did end up paying too much. He'd pay with his life. Soon, the officer finds a crumpled photo in the tire. Is that Tara Upton? In the photo, Tara Upton, dressed smartly, is getting out of her car to enter her company building. Her employees, both surrounding her and standing by the gate, all seem to be waiting respectfully. From the angle of this shot, it is clear that the photo was taken secretly. First the business card, and now the photo. What exactly happened between Finn Jackson and Tara Upton? Mr. Wayne, did you find anything suspicious?
아직은 없어요. 사진이 너무 평범해서 오히려 이상하게 느껴지네요. 설마.
Gazing at the people captured in that moment in the photo, he murmurs something and, after a while, shakes his head.
아무것도 아니에요. 제가 지나치게 걱정하는 걸 수도 있어요. 다른 것도 좀 더 살펴보죠.
Once the investigation is complete, you watch as the police collect the newly found evidence, bag it, and set it away. You can vaguely see the confession letter written by Finn Jackson amidst all the hustle. Finn Jackson, just what kind of person are you? If he were to be labeled an irredeemable villain, that letter would serve as the perfect rebuttal. But his actions clearly place him outside the bounds of law and justice. There's no denying what he had done. Perhaps you've been too lost in your own thoughts as you snap back to reality only after Autumn gently calls your name.
아직도 김태석에 대해 생각하고 있어요?
Yeah, it seems like with every step we take in the investigation, our original assumptions about him get overturned. The constant plot twists really make my head spin.
어떤 사람을 평가하는 것 자체가 아주 주관적인 거예요. 그러니까 기존의 생각이 뒤집힐까봐 두려워할 필요 없어요. 사람마다 자신만의 복잡한 면이 있기 마련이니까요. 그리고 여러 가지 주관적인 생각 속에서도 쉽게 바뀌지 않는 게 분명히 있어요.
What does he mean by that? As you ponder Autumn's words, you look once more toward the busy police. If there's one thing we can be sure of right now, it's probably Jackson's motive. He hadn't even reached the point of deciding to kill, nor did he have the opportunity to act. Finn Jackson's confession letter reveals that he approached Tara Upton by pretending to be a ride-hailing driver, aiming solely to uncover the truth from the past. After all, no one would simply trust a stranger who sent a photo out of the blue. Even for someone as hot-headed as Jackson, this would have been too reckless.
저도 그렇게 생각해요. 범행 기회에 대해선 이미 논의해봤지만 누구에게도 손을 쓸 기회가 없었어요. 즉, 범행 현장에 다른 사람이 있었다는 거예요.
Yes, both the new forensic report from the Judicial Forensic Institute and the footprints left at the scene confirms this. Jackson had already been dead before his car was dumped at the landfill, yet there were still male footprints found at the scene. This further supports the theory that Jackson was the murder victim in this incident, for reasons yet unknown. As the sunlight grows brighter and more blinding, The shadows cast by the abandoned vehicles and surrounding trash appear even darker. To ease the visual fatigue from staring at the bright spots for so long, you glance at Artem beside you. Although we've uncovered some information about Jackson, there are still many unresolved questions regarding Tara Upton. It might seem unfounded without concrete evidence. But, Mr. Wing, could it be possible that Tara Upton was involved in, or even orchestrated, the murder of Finn Jackson?
네, 그 가능성도 배제할 순 없지만 그렇게 되면 또 다른 문제가 생겨요.
Artem lowers his head, opens a page on his phone, and hands it to you. It shows a photo of Tara Upton that he took during his earlier investigation. The scene in the photo is bright and sunny, just like today, with Tara herself glowing in the light.
최예월에게 그 계획들을 실현할 능력이 있었을까요? 김태석이랑 접촉한 뒤 기회를 봐서 어딘가로 유인해 살해까지 하는 게 정말 조력자가 있었다고 해도 시신을 처리하는 건 절대 쉽지 않았을 거예요.
Dismembering an adult male, picking the parts into a suitcase and bags, and dumping them at a landfill isn't something an average person could do without getting caught. Besides, if she is truly the killer, she must have at least misled the initial investigation. True, as an ordinary businesswoman, she wouldn't have the means to acquire human organs to fake her death. Not to mention, the latest forensic report shows that multiple people's tissues are mixed in.
맞아요. 최예월이 평범한 사업가라는 전제 하에는 그렇죠.
As Autumn whispers, he continues to examine the photo on his phone. You can't help but lean in, curious to see what might have caught his attention. Mr. Wing, do you think we missed something in our investigation just now?
말했듯이 아직 주목할 만큼 이상한 점은 찾지 못했어요. 하지만 이 사진을 바탕으로 최예월의 인간관계에 대해 경찰이랑 다시 한번 확인하고 싶어요. 최대한 빨리. 잠시만요. 시간 좀 확인해 볼게요.
Almost in sync, you both bring up the work interface on your phones. The law firm maintains full transparency in the scheduling of each attorney. As for what's next on Artem's schedule, oops, I almost forgot that you still need to go back to the school.
그러게요. 내일 모레가 설명회네요. 그럼
How about I take over that one for you so you won't have to worry about law firm matters here? I'm familiar with the basic workflow, so there shouldn't be any issue. Autumn ponders for a moment and nods.
그럼 그렇게 하죠. 잠시만요.
What's wrong? Autumn gently takes your phone and quickly taps a few times on the screen.
방금 조사팀 채팅방에 제 GPS 정보를 올렸어요. 자, 이러면 언제든 제가 어디 있는지 알 수 있을 거예요. 갑자기 연락이 끊기지도 않고요.
However, as you take the phone back, Autumn hesitates for a moment. He seems to be estimating how long the next steps will take. After a moment, he speaks as if he's settled on a plan.
만약 학교 설명회가 끝나고 나서도 연락이 없으면 제가 있는 위치로 만나러 와줄 수 있나요?
But what could happen that would make him unable to contact anyone else? He senses your concerns before you can even ask.
조사 결과를 확인하기도 전에 이렇게 장담하는 건 괜한 오해를 일으킬 수 있지만 우리가 따로 움직이는 건 이번이 처음이자 마지막일 거예요.
Alright, let's stick to the plan then. Letter of confession. An handwritten confession letter hidden in a car tire by Finn Jackson. It details his recent experiences and his inner struggles. Essence. I've been carrying this burden since I was 20. I've been called a murderer, an outcast, and a social pariah. I've been hated and shunned by others. I thought I could just get used to it. I thought I could get used to living in the shadows. But that day, I received a photo. Just one look, and I know it was him. I knew I was the one who framed me. The real murderer is still out there. Mom, I finally found the real murderer. I'm going to bring him to justice. I won't let him get away this time. The person who sent me the photo is probably up to something, but what can I do? I have to take the risk to get rid of the real murderer. I'm not afraid of being shunned or ostracized. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm going to get rid of the real murderer. Upton's covert photo. A photo hidden in a car tire by Finn Jackson. It was taken on the night when he got off work and entered the company. The photographer is unknown. The photo is suspected to be taken by someone from a secret society, and the surface has multiple folding marks. Footprint likely left by another man. The footprint found near Finn Jackson's car did not belong to him but to another adult male impersonating him. Car repair kit possibly moved. Judging by the dust on the other items in the car trunk, it appears that only the car repair kit has been moved. Spare tire open to store objects. Someone made an opening in the spare tire in Finn Jackson's car and tucked certain objects into it. Jackson's true motive. Finn Jackson wrote in his letter of confession that he only approached Tara Upton to confirm the identity of his target. However, this does not eliminate the possibility that he intended to seek revenge later. Finn Jackson's victim. Finn Jackson had no clear motive for murder, nor the opportunity to commit it. He is the actual murder victim of this case. College. While it's normal for a college campus to be full of noise and excitement, staying in crowded areas for hours on end is draining, even for the most extroverted spirits. I can't take it anymore. I wonder how things are going with Mr. Wing. As you wonder, you glance at the phone on the desk. Ever since the graduate recruitment event started, the chat between Arthur and you has been quiet. Although other colleagues are helping and you don't need to give a speech like Archer, the other thoughts are still draining. So, when someone stops in front of you, you instinctively prepare to smile and hand over the recruitment QR code. Hello there, you can scan our official account first.
아, 누나. 내 이력서도 좀 봐줄래요?
Well, wait, Marius? You hear a rustle and see Marius quickly grabbing a piece of candy from the glass bowl next to you. Then he pulls over the nearest folding chair and sits directly in front of you. Seeing this, you suppress a chuckle and put away the recruitment sign. I suppose you don't need to apply for an internship at Themis law firm, Marius.
글쎄요. 최근 백은우 변호사님의 법학 교양 수업을 들었는데 사업 포기하고 법 쪽으로 전향할 뻔했거든요. 테미스에 취직하면 매일 누나랑 얘기할 수 있겠어요.
You can do that even now. Marius definitely isn't popping by for a casual visit. He nods, ignoring your insinuation, flicks his finger and slides the candy to your fingertips. He leans in a little closer as if using the noise of the crowd as a cover.
맞아요. 제일 시끄러운 곳이야말로 만나기 좋은 장소니까요. 누나랑 백은우 씨를 구해준 뒤로 계속 신경 쓰고 있었어요. 우리 모두의 정신 상태를요. 석 교수 납치 사건 같은 큰일을 겪고도 그다지 놀라지 않은 사람이 있더라고요.
Is he talking about Vin, or has he noticed something off about Artem as well? You...
난 누구 의심하는 거 싫어해요. 이렇다 저렇다 추측하는 것보다 직접 물어보는 게 낫죠.
Before Maris even finishes the playful smile fades from his face. He doesn't give you a chance for subtle questioning. Instead, he steers the conversation towards something more straightforward. He is always pretty focused and assertive, and right now, you can't shake the feeling that he's reading your thoughts.
자꾸 지난 일을 들추면 재미없잖아요? 지난 일은 그냥 지나가게 내버려 두자고요. 근데 지금 정보를 알면서도 보고하지 않고 있는 사람이 있는 것 같지 않아요?
Your gut tells you he has chosen a direct, risky approach instead of probing around for information. He's betting that, despite all the secrecy, everyone trusts you enough to be honest. If you lean a little in Mary's favor, he'll have the chance to learn more about what the others know. You grip the candy he just pushed towards you. Focusing on the pressure in your hand, your mind clears. Finally, you reply calmly. I haven't noticed anything like that so far. From now on, if I sense someone is hiding something, I'll be the first to confront them. You had an agreement with Artem that you would decide when to reveal everything about Neil Hume to them. With the case still unsolved, casual comments would only complicate things. Under his unwavering gaze, you can hardly come up with any excuses. Before you even realize it, he's slightly nudging the candy closer to you, his eyes never leaving you. He has their own concerns, yet we're all curious about each other's thoughts. Isn't that simply human nature? Just like you and me right now. Maris doesn't respond right away. He simply continues staring at you for a few more seconds. In the end, he bursts into a laugh. What's so funny? Even amidst the noise of the campus, you can clearly hear his relaxed and carefree laughter. It's as if he's releasing some worry, or perhaps he thinks his brain work. Struggling to contain his amusement, he shakes his head.
아무것도 아니에요. 그냥 누나가 정말 한결같은 사람인 것 같아서요. 누나, 그거 알아요? 나는 어떤 상황에서든 흔들리지 않고 자기 생각을 지키는 건 아주 대단한 일이라고 생각해왔어요. 그래서 다들 약속이라도 한 듯이 누나를 선택한 거겠죠. 나조차도요.
Before you could ask what he meant, Mary suddenly leans back in the folding chair.
자, 수수께끼 시간은 끝이에요. 사실 오늘은 누나한테 조사한 정보를 알려주려고 온 거예요.
Have you found anything? Let's take a look. Before he even finishes, he pulls a tablet out of his bag. You instinctively read the electronic documents on the screen aloud. A large-scale corporate data breach.
언론에서 대대적으로 보도하지는 않았지만 꽤 떠들썩했어요. 나까지 국정원에 끌려가 조사에 참여했거든요. 국정원이 아직까지 외부에 밝히지 않은 건 아마 유출된 데이터가 혼란을 불러올까봐 그랬을 거예요. 예를 들어 이런 거요.
Samara E-commerce is Sarah Upton's company. Among the companies with data breaches is Samara E-commerce.
맞아요. 회사 방화벽이 화인만큼 좋지 않나 봐요. 기업 데이터가 대량으로 유출됐어요. 그리고 회사의 진짜 사업 프로젝트까지 유출됐죠.
You watch as Mary swipes through the pages, the furrow in your brow deepening with each increasing page. At first glance, these look like normal online order records, but in the product column, why are they all names? The page is filled with foreign characters, but it's clear that the listed products are actually people. Names, genders, health conditions, organ details, surgical histories, all listed like product specifications. This is... As an ordinary businesswoman, she wouldn't have the means to acquire human organs to fake her death, right? The question you once asked Artem echoes in your mind as you continue scrolling through the data, still in disbelief.
이미 답을 아는 것 같네요, 누나. 처음에는 믿기 힘들겠지만 인신매매는 상당히 오래되고 체계적인 사업이에요. 그래서 난 최예월이 무역회사로 눈속임하고 실제로는 끔찍한 걸 유통하고 있다고 생각해요. 이 일의 다른 종사자들, 그러니까 최예월의 직원들에 대한 정보도 대량으로 조작되었을지도 몰라요.
Fake. The memory of your conversation with Jacob Yates at the White Horse Association rushes back, sending a chill down your spine. If Maris is right, then was the person you spoke to really Jacob Yates? Maris seems to notice the unease on your face and shrugs nonchalantly.
이런, 일이 점점 커지고 있네요. 그래도 걱정 마요. 우리가 제일 잘 아는 국정원 특수요원이 이미 조사를 시작했거든요. 이제 기다리기만 하면 돼요. 그래서 당분간 로스쿨 수업을 계속 들으려고요. 어쨌든 언제 어디서 갑자기 석 교수의 소식이 튀어나올지 모르잖아요?
Gladiolus Valley.
석 교수님, 제 말 들리세요?
Wilson is nowhere to be seen. Jerome Adams crouches down in front of the man who looks even weaker than before and checks his breathing.
돌아온 거냐? 진짜 고유진의 충견이 돼서 윤주역을 처리한 건 아니지? 쉿.
Adams first looks around, his gaze settling on the single iron framed bag nearest to him and Neil. After confirming the destination, he slowly reaches out, trying to help Neil up from the cold ground.
환자는 안정을 취해야 해요. 이건 의료인이 아닌 사람도 아는 상식이에요. 교수님을 빨리 낫게 해드리려고 아까 준비 좀 하고 왔어요. 준비?
Hearing Neil's slurred question, the young man simply smiles.
교수님, 영화 좋아하세요? 교수님의 애제자가 영화를 엄청 좋아한다던데 교수님도 싫어하시진 않을 것 같아서요.
Perhaps Neil, in his confused state, hasn't yet realized the bizarreness of the situation he was in. The iron frame bed he is half lying on faces a screen, playing a DVD that Jerome Adams brought. The vibrant colors and shadows flicker in the gray-white room, enveloping both of them in this strange space.
석찬우 교수님?
Adams tentatively calls his name, but only receives an unintelligible murmur in response.
저는 교수님이 최대한 정신을 붙잡고 다시 저와 아버지 얘기를 들어주실 거라고 생각했어요. 납치되기 전에 조사에 많은 힘을 기울이셨잖아요. 저한테 관심이 있다는 뜻 아닌가요?
Neil still doesn't respond. Adams turned his gaze back to the screen, now too bright, and the images flashing across it seemed to shift at the speed of light, like a rotating lantern. If one keeps focusing on his profile, it almost seems like his expression shifts with the images on the screen.
아버지 세대는... 교수님, 그거 아세요? 아버지 세대들은 언젠가 무너지고 죽을지도 몰라요. 그럼에도 언제나 우리 곁에 있죠. 어디에나 아버지의 존재를 그리워하는 사람들이 있고, 심지어는 아버지에 대한 그리움을 아이에게 이입하기도 해요.
No one is listening to him. Yet, Adam seems lost in some kind of hyper-aware soliloquy. Perhaps he is going on a tirade precisely because no one is listening.
그 무엇도 교수님의 조사를 속일 수는 없겠죠. 아버지가 돌아가신 뒤에 어머니가 아주 불안정해지셨어요. 어머니는 아버지가 돌아가셨다는 사실을 잊기 위해 끊임없이 새로운 친구들을 사귀며 작은 단체에 빠지셨어요. 그러니까 다단계 조직이요. 그때 저는 한밤중에 화장실에서 어머니가 구토하는 소리를 자주 들었어요. 다단계 조직에서 고가의 산 약을 위장에 쑤셔넣고 다시 토해내셨죠.
Neil seems like he wants to respond to his cold recounting, but he still can't form a complete sentence.
저는 어머니가 다 토하고 나면 변기물을 내리고 미친 듯이 손을 씻은 다음에 절 꽉 안아주길 기다려요. 어머니께 저는 아버지가 세상에 남긴 분신이었을 거예요. 그래서 어머니가 가진 그 공허하게 부풀어 오른 사랑은 토사물처럼 전부 제게로 쏟아졌죠. 사실 저도 어머니도 알고 있어요. 아버지는 아버지고 저는 저라는 걸요. 그래서 누군가의 감정 쓰레기통이 되기보단 제 마음이 원하는 대로 나아갈 방향을 정해보려고요. 그런데 아직 제 능력이 너무 부족해서 다른 아버지 세대의 도움을 받아야 했죠.
The images on the screen keep shaking, and across from it, Neil starts coughing violently into the bedsheets. It's as if he's struggling to fully wake up and see something, but he exerts himself so much that he almost chokes.
고유진. 고유진을 찾아갔구나.
제가 도움을 요청한 사람이 누군지 추측하시는 건가요? 그분은 아니에요, 교수님.
Jerome Adams pays no attention to the developments on the screen, or perhaps he never cared about them to begin with. He gently pats the patient's back as he usually does and patiently waits for a few seconds.
교수님이에요.
나라고? 헛소리를.
제가 선생님이랑 사이가 좋지 않다는 거 아시잖아요. 교수님만 하실 수 있는 일이 있어요. 교수님은 백은호 씨와 아주 비슷하면서도 조금 달라요. 교수님이라면 정의와 법이 닿지 않는 곳이라 해도 그것을 자유롭게 누빌 의지와 능력이 있거든요. 교수님은 백은호 씨보다 이쪽 생태계를 더 궁금해하시죠. 범죄자의 마음을 더 알고 싶어 하시고요.
그래서 날 찾아온 거냐? 언제든 미치광이가 될 수 있고 심지어 고유진에게 시달려 죽을 수도 있는 죄수인 나를.
Neil fixes Adams with a mocking gaze, but he stays calm.
아무리 봐도 도움을 구하는 태도 같진 않군.
저는 도움을 구할 상황도 아니고 그럴 필요도 없어요. 그저 가능한 미래를 상상했을 뿐이에요. 말씀드렸듯이 제 마음이 가는 대로 하려고 온 거예요. 교수님이 무의미하게 죽지 않으셨으면 해서요. 그럼 처음 질문으로 되돌아가야겠네요.
The rustling sound returns as Neil struggles to blink, attempting to make sense of Adam's movements. A sealed envelope reappears within them as the sound fades away.
교수님, 제가 가져온 문서 좀 보실래요? 한 번만 봐주시면 돼요. 앞으로 어떻게 할지도 전부 교수님께 맡길게요. 어떤 의미에서는 제 미래가 교수님 손에 달려있다고 할 수도 있겠네요. 교수님께는 좋은 일 아닌가요?
좋은 일?
네, 조만간 알게 되실 거예요. 그리고
As Adams begins to speak, the movie's volume suddenly jumps. It's just a typical explosion scene in a commercial film, with the firelight flickering across Neil's face and allowing him to read Adam's lips. The background explosions continue one after another, yet Neil's voice gradually grows even clearer amidst the noise.
뭐? 그게 네 계획이라고?
It's as if Adams has just cracked a joke, or perhaps he himself is on the brink of collapse, reaching a moment of clarity just before the end. Neil's manic laughter, laced with disbelief, erupts and fills the entire room. Because he is absolutely certain that no one outside can hear him. And what if they do? It's just an untrusted researcher and a half-dead patient watching a movie together.
가끔 난 네가 정말 이해가 안 돼. 굳이 속임수를 써서 CD까지 가져온 게 고작 한 마리 때문이냐? 미쳤구나. 완전히 미쳤어. 언젠가 벌받게 될 거다.
사람은 누구나 한 번쯤 죽어요. 육체든 정신이든 말이죠. 그런 걸로 저한테 겁주시는 거예요?
Adam's white lab coat is wrinkled, crumpled by his own hand. Perhaps even the skin underneath is painfully tugged, but he waits as if completely numb.
그래. 그 점은 부정하지 않으마. 그럼 계속 이야기해봐.
Tara Upton, human trafficker. Data leaked from Tara Upton's company reveals that it has been involved in human and organ trafficking under the guise of cross-border trade for a significant amount of time. Judicial Forensic Center. The researcher is busy at the workbench. Hearing the door unlock, he turns around, straightening the documents in his hand.
그쪽은...
저번에 연락드렸는데 김태석 사건의 상황을 좀 더 자세히 알고 싶어서 왔습니다.
After briefly bidding farewell to the police officer who accompanied him, Vin takes a few more steps into the room. The researcher responds quickly, opening a document on the nearby computer.
네, 솔직히 저희도 좀 수상하게 여기고 있었거든요. 여길 보세요.
The blue light from the computer screen reflects in both his and Vin's eyes. A few seconds later, Vin's brow furrows slightly.
저 사람들은
사건 현장에서 가장 먼저 발견됐던 캐리어에는 사건과 무관한 사망자들의 시신이 섞여 있었어요. 그중 일부의 신원을 확인해봤는데 사망자들은 세계 각지 출신이고 유일한 공통점은 생전에 소외계층이었을 가능성이 크다는 거예요. 그래서 실종 후에도 대부분 잠잠했고 결국 이곳으로 모인 거죠. 캐리어를 처리했던 사람들은 모두 불법적이고 비도덕적인 일에 연루되어 있을 거예요. 자세한 사항은 여기 보고되어 있어요. 먼저 경찰 쪽에 열람 권한을 신청하셨으니 편하게 살펴보세요.
As the researcher explains, Vin takes another look around the room. On one side of the room, near the corridor, a large rectangular glass window offers a direct view of the setup in the opposite room. The room is empty, with various long and short names printed in the center of each metal grid.
저 방이 바로
As if thinking aloud, his words suggest that his true purpose isn't here, but something else, something that can't be openly discussed. His voice is too soft for the researcher to hear. After a moment, the researcher walks over.
저희 기관의 영안실이 신경 쓰이시나요? 보통 우리가 해부해야 할 시신은 장례식장에서 여기로 이송돼서 잠시 동안 보관돼요. 방금까지는 좀 이상하다고 생각했거든요. 김태석 사건을 조사하러 온 사람들이 왜 다 우리 해부실에 관심을 가지나 하고요. 근데 같은 사건을 맡았으니 관심사가 비슷한 것도 당연한 일이겠죠.
저 말고도 누가 다녀갔나요? 비슷한 반응을 보였고요.
네, 남자 변호사였어요. 사법감정센터에 신원 미확인 시신 목록 검토를 신청했어요.
Hearing this, Vin shows no surprise and responds with an amicable smile.
누구 말씀하시는지 알겠네요. 일 처리가 꼼꼼한 분이시긴 하죠. 구체적으로 어떤 자료를 열람했는지 알 수 있을까요?
아, 김태석이 살인 혐의로 기소된 사건과 관련되어 있어요. 이걸 우연이라 해야 할지 운명이라 해야 할지. 김태석이 강도살인 혐의로 기소된 사건의 피해자 부자 중에 아버지의 시신은 계속 미림시 장례식장에 보관되어 있었어요. 최근에 이쪽으로 이송돼서 맞은편에 보관됐고요. 김태석처럼요.
네?
Vin can't help but glance at the opposite room again.
고인은 살아있는 친척도 없고 고향에도 변변한 장례식장이나 감정기관이 없거든요. 그래서 가까운 미림시에 안치되었어요. 동료분은 당시 부검보고서 열람을 신청하셨고요. 솔직히 전문적인 보고서는 아니라서 조사가 잘 안 풀리면 다시 부검해야 할지도 몰라요.
A brief silence fills the room. The researcher has his own thoughts to attend to. He quickly turns away from the window and returns to the workbench, leaving Vin standing. Vin stares at his reflection in the glass for a moment, then turns his head.
참, 혹시 지금 이 사망자 관련 감정 보고서 조회 신청하면 언제쯤 승인받을 수 있을까요?
글쎄요. 저희 쪽에서는 별다른 의견 없는데 경찰 측 입장을 물어봐야 해서. 혹시 급하시면 조회 사유를 말씀해 주세요. 저희 쪽에서 경찰에 연락하면 더 빠를 거예요.
감사합니다. 그럼 일단 나가서 동료한테 확인해 볼게요.
After leaving the room, Vin walks a few steps down the corridor. Only the faint echo of his footsteps lingers in the quiet space. Then he glances over his shoulder.
나오세요. 그 나이에 스토커 성향이 있는 줄은 몰랐네요.
Vin's gaze is directed toward the corner where the corridor meets the stairs. There is only an imperceptible noise at first, then a thin shadow rises along the wall until the owner of the shadow is exposed.
스토커라니? 네 삼촌이 그런 교양 없는 짓을 하겠니? 난 그냥 가족으로서 겉으로는 서로를 무시할지라도 서로 마주보고 이야기할 공간이 필요하다고 생각했을 뿐이야.
Matthew glances at Vin's phone. The screen lights up to show a call that's only a mere tap away from connecting. Vin quickly turns off the screen and shrugs.
좋아요. 그럼 얘기 좀 나누죠. 먼저 지난 몇 년 동안 왜 교마회에 거금을 투자했고 왜 자선 상영회를 열었는지부터 얘기해 볼까요?
Vin stops beating around the bush, most likely because he figured out why Matthew come over. But Matthew only scoffs. With his hands in the pocket, he looks at the youth that resemble his sister up and down.
아, 그래. 요즘 계속 이 삼촌을 조사했다. 이거지? 보니까 우리 윤씨 집안에 조금 나쁜 버릇이 있더라고. 대치할 때마다 서로를 비아냥거리는 버릇 말이야. 교마회에 있는 사심이라면 너도 날 욕할 처지가 아닐 텐데. 심리상담을 핑계로 몰래 탐정놀이나 하고 있으면서.
탐정놀이? 다른 사람의 일을 오해하신 것 같은데요. 정신과 의사로서 봤을 때 지금 교마회에 가장 필요한 건 심리치료지 야외 상영관 같은 게 아니에요. 그리고 다들 현대인이니 언제 정신건강이 무너질지도 모르고요.
예를 들면?
On the wall, glinting coldly in the light, the shadows of the two men kept their distance. Vin's silhouette suddenly inches forward, while Matthew stays in the same place, swaying ever so slightly.
예시는 많죠. 스스로가 구세주라고 여기며 건강한 사람들에게는 관심을 기울이지 않고 병적으로 중증 환자를 돌보는 사람들처럼 말이에요. 불법적인 사업을 하더라도 내겐 행운이 따르고 성공할 수 있다는 걸 가족에게 증명하기 위해서일지도 모르죠. 하지만 실제로는 생사마저 다른 사람 손에 쥐어져 있는 놀림감에 불과해요.
Matthew's face freezes even before Vin finishes talking. He scrapes the ground with his shoe impatiently before retorting.
마음대로 짓거려라. 아직 삼촌한테 농담하는 여유를 보니 아직 덜 급한가 보구나. 네가 교마회나 교마회에 있는 누군가에게 의심을 품고 있다 해도 지금 단계에서는 너 혼자선 아무것도 알아내지 못해. 알겠어?
그게 무슨 뜻이죠?
Matthew looks at Vin for a good while. He walks over to Vin with the kind of determination that makes him sick just thinking about it.
알아서 생각해. 이제 조카님과 놀아줄 시간이 없어서 말이야.
당신...
After the sound of clothes rustling, Vin looks down in surprise. An envelope is stuffed into his hand, and Matthew is behind him with his hands back in his pockets again.
내가 오늘 네 기분 나쁘게 하자고 추궁하러 온 거라 생각하는 건 아니지? 난 굳이 그럴 필요가 없어. 미친 게 아닌 이상 사방에 CCTV가 깔린 곳에서 그런 짓을 할 리 없지.
그럼 왜...
Vin looks Matthew up and down with a furrowed brow while the latter waves at him. He seems to know exactly how much time has passed. There is more noise as the researcher moves to open the door.
다른 건 아니고 그냥 너랑 얘기 좀 하러 온 거야. 얼른 돌아가. 삼촌은 이만 해외로 놀러 가야 하거든. 이렇게 개싸움이나 벌이는 곳엔 다시 안 올 거야.
Matthew's silhouette quickly disappears down the stairs. Vin looks away after a good while, opening the creased envelope in his hand. He doesn't take his eyes off the items in the envelope even when the lights are turned off after people leave the building. College. The sun is going down and you breathe a sigh of relief as you take a bottle of mineral water from a coworker. It's finally over. But this is not the time to twist the cap of the bottle to down the water. You flip your phone over from where it was face down on the table and wait for the screen to light up. No news from Mr. Wing, just a file. The chat only contains a kiss file from Artem and a few lines of explanation. I went to the prison and the Judicial Authentication Center, then dug deeper for more information on Finn Jackson. It's just a hunch, but maybe for him, the past was never the past, but a part of the present. A part of the present? You quickly go over the old case report after reading the messages from Autumn. If you had to put a finger on it, some parts of it are so vague that they sound a little like urban legend. In Finn Jackson's case, he was accused of killing a father and his son, but only the father's body was found. But some of the people that helped with the search said that someone found an ear that belonged to the deceased son. An ear? The layman description makes things more confusing, and you almost want to message Artem to ask for more detail. But you recall something just before you start typing.
방금 조사팀 채팅방에 제 GPS 정보를 올렸어요. 자, 이러면 언제든 제가 어디 있는지 알 수 있을 거예요. 갑자기 연락이 끊기지도 않고요. 만약 학교 설명회가 끝나고 나서도 연락이 없으면 제가 있는 위치로 만나러 와줄 수 있나요? 조사 결과를 확인하기도 전에 이렇게 장담하는 건 괜한 오해를 일으킬 수 있지만 우리가 따로 움직이는 건 이번이 처음이자 마지막일 거예요.
If Mr. Wing is serious about that, then I should find out where he is first. You quickly find the map in the chat. You had used this feature when you delivered the documents to Artem's house. Location sharing saves a user's location information as long as they use the map in the chat once and keeps their location updated for 2 weeks. Huh? You browse through the stylist map and see that most people are at school or work, but why is Mr. Wing at the harbor? Instinct kicks in and you don't hesitate for long. The setting sun is dazzlingly golden when you pick up your bag to quickly leave the office, knowing that you have no time to waste. Jackson's past case file, a case file collected by Artem that contains detail about a homicide case he was involved in years ago. Except, this case is to be reconstructed from the perspectives of both the police and the suspect. According to the information available, the suspect's father died of sudden illness. The suspect had also been injured in an altercation with the victim. The victim's body was found with a single stab wound. The police found the suspect's fingerprints on the murder weapon and some of the victim's blood on the suspect's clothes. The suspect's statement that the murder was an accident was confirmed by the victim's autopsy report. However, the victim's body showed signs of strangulation. The suspect claimed that the victim had been suffocated was not confirmed. Harbor. You inform everyone where Artem is, and the members of the investigation team set off for the harbor one by one. You don't encounter much traffic on the way, and you quickly arrive at the sea of containers in the freight area. I need to be extremely careful here. I'll take a quick look inside first. The map shows that Artem is at the end of the freight area. You just have to walk through the path between these containers. These are... The forest of containers grows dense, and you walk toward one of them with your brows furrowed. Samara e-commerce? You read the large black letters printed on the container out loud. A lot of these containers are printed with logos that you've seen before, and they are the same as the logo on Tara Upton's business card. Some are printed on the corner of the containers, and some of the containers are covered in bright colors. Mr. Wing came to the harbor by himself, and many of the containers here coincidentally bear the logo of Tara Upton's company. Did Mr. Wing discover something about her? But how did he know? Since Artem promised you not to put himself in risky situations alone, the two of you should, in theory, have the same information. For him to have taken such sudden action, there can only be two possibilities. Maybe Mr. Wing found something on the evidence that I didn't notice, or he might have chosen the most efficient but also the most dangerous solution, just like he did when he was looking for Professor Hume.
Your train of thought is interrupted by a soft sound behind you. There's someone else here. The rustling footsteps stop. Normally, you would have thought that the footsteps belonged to a careful and light-footed stray cat. But a stray would never survive in an area full of concrete and rebar. This is where humans play hide and seek. Wait, if they can follow me and keep a safe distance, that means they know this area better than I do. Moreover, you quietly pull out your phone and the map shows that Autumn is just up ahead. Should I go for it? You calm down and open the map on your phone. Just a little more until I can rendezvous with Mr. Wayne. In this situation, it is probably better to expose yourself to someone you know rather than to be taken away quietly by a stalker. Let's go. You take a deep breath and rush toward the light at the end of the container-laden path. It's Mr. Wing. The path opens up and Autumn is standing under the setting sun with his back to you. If you say his name, he would hear you and turn around. Your words came to an abrupt stop with your feet. Autumn, still with his back to you, crouches down and picks up something that is just a little bigger than a fingernail, then put it in his ear. He adjusts it and speaks again in a low voice.
당신이 원한 대로 혼자 왔어요. 그럼 이제 이야기 좀 하죠.
Who is Autumn talking to? You realize that he'd picked up a Bluetooth earpiece. But there is no one else nearby other than Autumn and you, so there is no way to find out who left the earpiece here and who Autumn is talking to. There must be a reason for Autumn to have this conversation. I might interrupt them if I reveal myself. But I can't just wait here. I can't even hear anything. What do I do now? Just like how Mr. Wing contacted the criminal organization and the mysterious person with that one excuse, you need to give yourself another identity. An identity that gives you access to the conversation and the ability to respond accordingly, but does not raise suspicion. Playing a role that isn't directly connected to Artem is a safe choice if the mysterious person on the other end can't tell what your objectives are. But will acting like someone completely irrelevant be convincing enough? I guess. An identity that gives you access to the conversation and the ability to respond accordingly, but does not raise suspicion. The person that contacted Artem only left an earpiece and didn't even show themselves. To someone that's meticulous and even skeptical, being on opposite sides is more trustworthy than working together. From another perspective, this is not a complete act. If you can ascertain what's really on Artem's mind, then this is a rare opportunity. Autumn is bathed in sunlight, the golden light covering him from head to toe. You take a deep breath and step into the light of the setting sun. Why did you come here by yourself?
당신
Confusion flashes across Autumn's eyes, but he quickly recomposes himself. Perhaps he is watching you, or maybe he's thinking about other factors that you haven't considered. You only have a very limited amount of time to make the mysterious person believe in something.
어떻게 여길 찾아왔어요?
followed you because I've been wondering about your recent behavior. This is meant for the mysterious person on the other end of the line. At the same time, you take out your phone and calmly type something. I'm here as promised. Autumn looks down quietly after several seconds. The expression on his face remains unchanged. After all, the mysterious person might be very far away or nearby. We made a promise before, didn't we? You said you would not act alone and would do your best to let me know first. But what are you doing now? You walk closer to Artem and the muffled sound from his earpiece becomes a little clearer. He frowns as he waits for a few seconds before quickly responding to the call.
당신이 미리 내 뒷조사를 했다면 지금 온 사람이 누군지 알 겁니다. 그렇다면 이 사람이 그다지 중요하지 않은 초짜 변호사고 지금 대화에 영향을 주지 않을 거란 것도 알겠네요.
Please stop talking to someone else and answer me, Mr. Wing. This is no longer an act. You are close enough to grab him by the lapels of his suit. His earpiece is not too far away from your reach either. The message you sent earlier should have arrived. You more thirsty message to him. Pretend you're betraying me. Do it quickly so no one suspects anything.
뭐라고요?
You're talking to someone you suspected of being the culprit of the Finn Jackson case, right? The mastermind that you wanted to catch. But you're on their side now for personal reasons.
당신
I'm not going to stop you, Mr. Wing, because I know I can't. But that doesn't mean you don't approve. You are willing to trust his decision. From the twinkle in his eye, you sense that he is starting to understand just a little more. So, I'm not going to do anything. I don't want you to put yourself in danger, and we might even disagree going forward. But I hope you can at least give me an answer now. Given the current situation, he is unable to respond to you directly. Your conversation might be interrupted any moment, so he has to express himself with half-truths.
맞아요. 근본적으로 대부분의 사람들은 서로를 이해하기 어려워해요. 당신이 제가 선생님을 찾기 위해 어디까지 할 수 있는지 모르듯이 저도 당신이 왜 매번 절 따라오는지 이해가 안 되네요. 지금 와서 이런 얘기는 중요하지 않지만요.
The silence between you doesn't last very long. He suddenly grabs your wrist, but you don't feel any pain. Then he guides your hand upward until you take off his earpiece.
껴요, 얼른.
As long as you look into his eyes, you can tell what he wants you to do. If you don't say anything, Mr. Wing, then don't blame me for taking your earpiece. As your partner, I have the duty to find out who you are talking to and clarify some things with them myself. The line remains silent even after you speak directly to the mysterious person on the other side. Autumn looks you up and down and quickly breaks the silence.
당신이 알면 뭐가 달라지죠?
I told you, I just wanted an answer. You decided to stand with them for the professor when you first contacted them, right?
말했잖아요. 당신은
파트너가 그것까지 알고 있었군요. 백 변호사님.
A voice with a strange tone answers you before Autumn can play along.
그래서요? 좋은 사람이 나쁘게 변하는 게 싫고 배신당하고 싶지 않아서 여기까지 쫓아온 건가요?
That's right. Is there anything wrong with that?
그럼 백 변호사가 더 이상 당신 편이 아니라는 걸 알았으니 앞으로 제가 뭘 시켜도 백 변호사는 거절할 수 없다는 것도 알겠죠. 아니면 직접 입장을 밝히고 싶나요?
You train your eyes on Arthur while the person on the other end of the line speaks. He watches your conversation quietly, but he also shows you what's on his screen after typing furiously. If I am right, the person on the phone is probably Tara Upton or her accomplice. Whoever it is, they know about Tara Upton being pursued by the criminal organization. But they probably don't know that I had a falling out with them and that they were taken down by the NSB. So now we need to make her think that I have defected. Can you work with me? You nod at Artem. He closes his eyes for a moment and he has an extremely distant look on his face when he opens them again.
아시다시피 저는 선생님을 다시 데려오기 위해서라면 어떤 대가도 치를 수 있어요. 무엇과 바꾸든 상관없죠.
Perhaps he is also mixing his true feelings into this deceiving performance, just like you.
그리고 지금 상황에서는 목숨까지 걸 수 있어요.
목숨을 걸다뇨?
당신이 말한 대로 암살 조직이 당신을 죽이려고 했어요. 하지만 솔직히 말하면 그 사람들도 돈을 받았을 뿐이죠. 조직에서 타깃이 죽었다고 판단하면 다른 여지가 생길 거예요.
그 말은 살 길을 찾을 수도 있다는 건가요?
그렇죠. 혼자서 그렇게 많은 일을 저지르면서 죽은 척 위장하느라 많은 노력을 기울이고 심지어 죄 없는 사람들의 장기를 이용해서 혼란을 주려고 한 것도 전부 살기 위해서 아닌가요? 최예월 씨.
The line remains silent, but you have a burning question in your mind as you look over at Artem with furrowed brows. Wait, why did he say by herself? We determined that the chance of her having accomplices was very high when we were analyzing the case. You suddenly realize something and look around. The endless containers, the Bluetooth earpiece, and a mysterious person that cannot be located, and a stalker that followed you for a while.
드디어 알아봐주는 사람이 생겼네요. 화인에서 개발 중인 블루투스 스포츠 이어폰인데 기존 모델의 거리 제한을 개선한 모델이에요. 아직 테스트 중이지만요. 개발팀 사람들 다 하나씩 쓰고 있는데 내가 안 쓸 수 없죠. 이어폰을 먼저 쓰고 머리카락을 이쪽으로 넘기면
Even the experimental earpiece that Maris wore had a range limit. The earpiece would disconnect if it was too far from the connected device. If we are really talking to Tara Upton, it means that she can't be too far from us. But when I realized that I was being followed, the distance between Artem and me was greater than the usual Bluetooth pairing range. It's impossible for Tara Upton to talk to Artem while following me. That means that she has an accomplice and they are nearby. You finally realize what Artem meant by working with him. It would only work if we were on the same page. Mr. Wing didn't want to negotiate anything with Tara Upton. He wanted to find the culprit with me here and put an end to this farce. So who is the culprit? Who is Tara Upton's accomplice? The setting sun doesn't talk, it just shines on you quietly until the end. Harbor. Who is Optus' accomplice and where are they? The sunset intensifies and you almost want to close your eyes. But you do your best to look around, searching for clues that will let you reveal the truth to the mysterious person on the line. Time waits for no one. The mysterious person speaks to Artem once more while you're thinking.
맞아요, 백 변호사님. 전 살고 싶어요. 그게 아니었다면 굳이 위험을 무릅쓰고 당신과 만나겠다고 나서지 않았겠죠. 근데 변호사님, 우리 같은 사람들 접해본 적 있잖아요. 우리한테 안정감이라는 건 없다는 것도 알고 있을 거고요. 솔직히 말해서 변호사님이 제 행적을 비밀로 할 것 같지도 않고 변호사님의 파트너가 관련 없다고도 믿지 않아요. 여기까지 쫓아와서 변호사님을 그렇게 추궁한 걸 보니 두 사람의 관계가 그렇게 얕지 않다는 걸 알 수 있죠.
그렇게 생각할 수도 있겠네요. 그럼 제가 어떻게 해야 당신의 의심을 풀 수 있죠?
그 파트너를 저한테 줘요.
The mysterious person had the answer ready even before Artem finished his sentence. Artem looks at you but reflects. Anxiety flashes across his eyes even though he was prepared for the answer.
그게 무슨 소리죠?
오늘 밤 항구에서 배를 타고 미림시를 떠나 완전히 자취를 감출 거예요. 경찰이 말하는 침묵의 사자가 되는 거죠. 변호사님이 누군가랑 사적으로 연락하거나 허튼 짓을 벌일 수도 있으니 파트너를 데려가야겠어요. 물론 제가 무사히 탈출하면 다시 돌려보내드릴 거예요. 어때요? 이 거래.
Artem is quiet, but you know this is not hesitation. He's trying to buy the two of you more time to think. Think quickly. As your brain churns, your eyes are filled with countless voices from the past, overpowering everything in reality. White Horse Association.
귀가 오래전부터 안 좋았거든요. 심할 때는 상대방의 말을 제대로 못 알아들을 만큼 통증이 오곤 합니다. 원래는 점이액 같은 걸로 적당히 버텨보려고 했는데 최예월 씨가 바로 유급휴가를 줬죠.
And how long is that paid leave, may I ask?
보통 20일 정도 받았습니다. 여기에 15일 정도 병가도 있어서 다 더하면 한 달 정도 쉴 수 있습니다. 의사 진료 말고도 이경 검사도 같이 받게 되면서 그날 밤은 계속 이 병원에서 시간을 보냈고요.
Distress.
무슨 문제라도 있나요?
The hospital is in the White Horse Association headquarters.
맞습니다. 교마의 협력 병원이니까요. 방금 축구하던 아이들 기억나십니까?
Did he not check his writing? This should have been she, not he. Mom, I can finally write something down on the confession form you gave me. My conscience is clear. I finally found them, the culprit. Now I have to get close to them. If Finn Jackson's time of death is earlier than the time this car was left here, these footprints can't possibly belong to him.
맞아요. 죽은 사람이 다시 일어나서 걸을 수는 없을 테니까요. 하지만 그렇게 위장할 수는 있죠.
Could it be Tara Upton? It's completely possible that she wore men's shoes to create the illusion that Finn Jackson was here.
최예월은 아닐 거라고 생각해요. 아니면 애초에 여자가 남자로 위장해 남긴 발자국이 아닐 거예요.
What if Finn Jackson hadn't written wrongly?
After all, there is one person who had the chance to participate all along, and they lost their perfect alibi when the secret of Tara Upton's company was exposed. And the person has appeared in the photo that Finn Jackson cherished. Could it be the photo in the tire flashes before your eyes? In the photo, Tara Upton was just getting out of the car, and the employees around her looked the same, like brothers and sisters with only slight distinctions. As for the driver who stood quietly to the side, holding the door open for her, naturally no one paid them any attention. Jacob Yates.
무슨 뜻인지 이해했어요, 최예월 씨.
Autumn, probably getting tired of the stalemate, breaks the silence.
그럼 당신이 건 조건은
I will go with you. The answer is obvious, so there's no need for contemplation.
같이 가겠다고요?
Yes, but we need to agree on one thing beforehand. Since you are dealing with people like us, you should know that we are keen on keeping the balance of power. I can leave Stellis with you, but in return, you must send someone to Mr. Wing.
한 사람을 남기라고요? 아직 상황을 잘 모르나 본데 제 쪽에 사람이 누가 있는데요?
Jacob Yates. For an instant, Autumn looked surprised, almost as if you read his mind, but he quickly regains composure. He's been with you this whole time, hasn't he?
그게 무슨...
You know what I'm talking about. You interrupt her because it doesn't matter what she says. I don't know what crush you had with Finn Jackson, but on the night of the incident, you two took advantage of the situation and killed him because he was trying to get close to you for an old kiss. Am I right? I bet that went very well. You gave Jacob Yates time off because the hospital you work with can easily get him a doctor's note.
병원? 의심병 있으세요? 멀쩡한 병원까지 의심하시는 건가요?
Ordinary. Your company was exposed for human and organ trafficking, and there were even fraudulent employees. At least to the police, the White Horse Association is no longer clean. They're now part of the investigation. You can hear the tremor in her voice, and you speak again before she has a chance to refute. Since you have direct access to organ sellers, you can fake a crime scene where Tara Upton is killed. But then things didn't go so well, did it?
무슨 말도 안 되는 소리인지.
The voice on the other side of the line is trying to remain calm. Artem, on the other hand, is observing his surroundings quietly. Encourage, you go on. You didn't know Finn Jackson's background and had no idea that there was someone else out there who also wanted you dead. It could have been a business partner or someone else. After all, no one was safe in that environment, right? So you had to hide shamefully until you had a chance to get out. Even now, Jacob Yates is with you at the harbor.
정말 제정신이 아니네. 착각 마세요. 그렇게 막말한다고 해서.
You're the crazy one. I bet you think you can get away from everything by faking your death.
저기 봐요.
You hear the sound of crows cawing when Autumn pushes you. A large group of blackbirds flew across the setting sun before you notice the blaring sirens. They're here.
2시 방향 검은 컨테이너 위에 용의자가 있습니다. 1팀 준비.
What? The sudden static from the earpiece catches you off guard. With no time to waste, Autumn and you make cheese.
당신은 이쪽 길로 가요. 저는 저쪽으로 돌아서 갈게요. 둘 다 놓쳐서는 안 돼요. 적어도 먼저 최예호를 잡아야.
변호사님들,
The police hasn't arrived at the edge of the harbor where you now stand. The containers glint chillingly, even though they are stained yellow by the setting sun. The figure on top of the container seems to have already given up on their escape plan somewhere along the way.
마지막으로 경찰이나 다른 사람들이 오기 전에 더 얘기해 볼 생각 없어요?
A man? You talk to the mysterious person as if they were Tara Upton, even though you knew there were other possibilities. The figure in front of you is clearly an adult male dressed in a large hoodie. The hood covers his face. You haven't confirmed his identity, but you already know who he is. Before you can say anything, however, the wind decides to do the work for you. The dust is quickly and quietly fading into the night where the boundaries of time are blurred and the evening breeze travels freely. The hood is blown back by the wind, and the fading sun shines on his face. He's here. One side of Jacob Yates' face lacks an ear. He almost turns his head out of habit, but he manages to stop himself. Instinctively, you recall a snippet from the case file that Autumn sent you. In Finn Jackson's case, he was accused of killing a father and his son, but only the father's body was found. And only an ear that belonged to the son was found. This means he must be...
변호사님들, 이렇게 된 마당에 사건 얘기는 그만하죠.
그래서 무슨 말을 하고 싶은 거죠?
Jacob Yates calmly smiles at Artem. He is not trying to make one last bluff, but attempting to make conversation with someone similar, driven by a strange emotion.
처음 의뢰를 받았을 때부터 지금까지 당신이 가장 원한 게 정말 사건 해결인가요? 사건을 빨리 마무리하고 싶은 거라면 다 포기하고 여기에서 내려가서 당신들이랑 같이 가줄 수 있어요. 최예월 씨가 누구에게도 쫓기지만 않는다면 더 이상 도망치지 않을게요.
You know that's not possible. The police...
정말 불가능한 거 맞나요? 변호사님들의 능력이라면 해낼 수 있을 거라 믿어요.
헛된 바람이네요.
그래요. 근데 그렇게 해주기만 하면 석찬우에 대한 모든 정보를 알려줄 수 있는데 석찬우가 뭘 조사하고 있는지, 왜 납치되었는지, 지금 누구와 어디에 있는지, 그 사람이 여전히 예전의 석찬우인지 백 변호사님이 가장 원하는 정보들이죠. 어떻게든 석찬우의 정보를 손에 넣어서 다시 데려올 거라고 했죠. 그건 연기가 아니라 진심이었을 거라 믿어요.
Mr. Wing? The fugitive that once fooled everyone and the man who pursued something relentlessly are quietly looking at each other. You can see the fading sun wavering by Artem's feet, about to leave him in the shadows of the night.
물론 절 경찰서로 잡아가서 신문할 수도 있겠죠. 그런데 그러면 시간이 많이 걸리지 않을까요? 여러 가지 허가와 절차가 얼마나 번거로운지는 둘째치고 변호사님이 다른 사람으로부터 감시를 받게 될지도 몰라요. 그리고 납치된 사람은 종종 시간에 따라 생사가 엇갈리곤 하죠.
You know that Jacob Yates is taking a gamble at the fact that Artem is looking for Neil Hume, both out of his volition and because he has an unspeakable plan. And what's more horrifying is the fact that he's right. Artem, surprisingly, despite it being such a critical moment that could change the outcome for all of you, Artem turns. Are you seeing things? In the fading light, it almost looks like he's back on the roof that night, smiling back at you.
저는
Another gust of wind blows by, and you feel the cold sweat on your back more acutely than before. You are scared because you know that the man in front of you has been completely honest, even sharing the pain and the persistence that no one knows with you. You've known all along that he would do anything to find Neil Hume. So, Mr. Wing, do you know?
네, 알고 있어요. 다 가짜예요. 서진명 씨, 당신과 최예호를 위협하던 범죄 조직원들은 이미 전부 체포됐어요. 바로 저와 그 사람들이 만난 그날 밤이에요.
뭐라고요?
그 사람들조차 석 교수님을 납치한 사람이 누군지 모르는데 납치 사건과 더욱 관련 없는 당신이 알고 있을 리 없죠. 그러니까 당신은 당신과 비슷한 결심을 품은 다른 사람을 이용해 상대방을 속이려는 것뿐이죠. 나쁘지 않은 방법이네요. 우리 모두 누군가의 안위를 위해서라면 모든 걸 바칠 수 있는 사람이니까요. 그리고 당신에게 가장 중요한 사람은 최예월 씨겠죠?
최예월.
As if he heard a rumor that could never hold water, he scoffs. Even if he never admitted it, he exudes the same aura as Artem, even now. Half playing along with a lie that had been decided and sticking with it out of faith, even if everyone else can see the truth.
무슨 말인지 모르겠네요. 최예월 씨와 저요? 저희는 서로 그저 고용관계일 뿐이에요. 당신들이 뭘 찾아낼 수 있을 것 같나요? 아무것도 알아내지 못할 거예요. 오직 백 변호사님만이 그 융통성 없는 태도 때문에 더 많은 소중한 사람과 일을 잃게 되겠죠.
Autumn takes his eyes off Jacob Yates as if he didn't hear the latter's curse-like prophecy. After all, there is no need for the conversation to continue. The frightened birds nearby take off again as sirens approach. Other than Jacob Yates, who had no intention to keep running and was found by Artem and you, Tara Upton was arrested by the police nearby. From her records and testimony, she was the one that followed you at the beginning and hasn't shown her face recently. According to the police that found her, she looked extremely fatigued, like she had been hiding in the harbor district for nearly a month. It was almost as if someone demanded her to never leave the safe hideout. Several weeks later, after you enter the room with Artem and the police, the first thing you see is Jacob Yates, who is sitting in a chair with his head down, seemingly deep in thought. He was arrested at the harbor with Tara Upton, but only the latter has been listed as an important suspect about to face the public prosecution. It's also possible that he will be formally arrested later, but the investigation will take a long time before that happens. Jacob Yates hasn't looked up, and you knock on the glass after getting permission from Artem. It was just a way to get his attention, and he doesn't hear your voice. After his arrest, Jacob Yates' only request has been to see me and Artem. We should get started if we want to find out what he has to say.
아, 진짜 오셨네요? 제가 그렇게 무섭나요? 그냥 앉으시면 돼요.
With all disguises removed, Jacob Yates looks pretty carefree. Having talked to him at the harbor, you and Autumn must appear somewhat wary in his eyes. Autumn calms himself, picks up the receivers, and hands one to you.
그럼 일단 만나고 싶었던 이유를 말해보시죠.
저번에 너무 급하게 얘기하느라 못다한 말이 많다고 생각하지 않나요? 제 범행 수법이라든지 살인 동기라든지.
질문에 질문으로 대답하지 마세요.
What? Even though he sounds overly casual, you can tell that he is trying to hint at something. Come to think of it, this is highly unusual. He's not even trying to defend himself, and he's talking to Artem as the killer. Is he going to turn himself in? But if that's the case, then all that running around would have been in vain. Jacob Yates looks at you for a long time while you contemplate and sigh.
추측할 필요 없어요. 제 생각은 단순하거든요. 변호사를 만나서 상담하고 싶을 뿐이죠. 자문을 구하는 거라고도 할 수 있겠네요.
우리한테 도움을요?
제가 아는 법조인이 두 분뿐이라 변호사님들이 먼저 떠올랐어요. 게다가 두 분은 분명 이 일에 나서고 싶으실 거니까요. 검찰의 조사 방향이 엉뚱하게 흘러가고 있거든요.
Explain. Jacob Yates' smile drops. He leans forward toward the glass pane in front of you and remains silent at first, but eventually some kind of determination overpowers his other concerns.
최예월 씨는 사람을 죽이지 않았어요. 모든 계획, 모든 더러운 일들은 모두 제가 한 거예요. 그리고 김태석이 필사적으로 찾던 사람도 저예요. 그의 말을 빌리자면 제가 바로 당시 김태석한테 누명을 씌운 배후의 범인이에요. 최예월 씨도 죄가 있긴 하지만 엉뚱한 사람이 김태석 사건의 판결을 받게 둘 순 없잖아요. 아니면 변호사님들도 악당이라 불리는 저희 같은 사람들은 어떤 벌을 받든 마땅하다고 생각하시나요?
당신이 법이나 법조인에 대해 가지고 있는 이미지를 저희에게 씌우지 마세요.
Autumn interrupts him before he can give you more of his subjective views on the legal system.
이유만 타당하다면 당연히 의뢰를 받아들일 수 있어요. 하지만 그 전에 서진명 씨의 진짜 생각을 들어봐야겠어요.
Not expecting his proposal to be taken seriously, he laughs after a short pause.
그럼 시작하죠. 솔직히 말해서 저는 변호사님들 같은 유형의 사람은 처음 봐요. 저랑 최예월 씨의 인생에서 법, 정의 같은 건 신문에나 나올 법한 동화 같은 이야기였거든요.
The man in front of you takes a deep breath and closes his eyes. Despite that, you know that he can probably see a place beyond reality.
가짜 신분은 제쳐두고 제 고향은 미림씨 밖에 외진 곳이에요. 무법지라 할 수 있죠. 집안 상황도 좋지 않았는데 저와 예월이는 유일한 친구였어요.
The home, remodeled from a warehouse, can be seen after pulling open a nearly broken door with trash filling the gaps. Before entering the room, the youth looks around out of habit. He breathes a sigh of relief when he is sure that no one is home and that the floor is not too dirty.
들어와.
올 때마다 이렇게까지 해야 해? 네 정신 나간 아빠를 맨날 이렇게 피해야 하냐고.
A girl who looks like a high school student walks in with her hands in her pockets, kicking a rolling beer can away.
내년이면 졸업, 맞지? 밖에서는 설설 키고 집에서는 때릴 줄밖에 모르는 쓰레기 같은 가족은 그냥 신경 끄면 되지 않아?
잘 모르겠어. 어디로 가야 할까?
야, 좀 강하게 살아. 좀 그렇다면 내가 도와줄...
거기 누구야?
Gripped by the fear that has been ingrained into him, Jacob Yates takes a step back. But Tara Upton doesn't. She squints at the man who just climbed from a pile of dirty clothes. That the man, reeking of alcohol, smiles sarcastically.
우리 아들 출세했네? 집에 여자를 데려와? 참, 어디까지 간 거냐? 잠깐. 누군지 알겠다.
The man, whose vision is still blurred from his hangover, somehow manages to shift his gaze onto Tara Upton's nervous face.
역시 그 엄마의 그 딸인가? 어제 나한테 술 따라준 여자가 바로 너희 엄마인데.
예월이는 제 친구예요. 그런 말 하지 마세요.
가까이 가지 마!
The youth tosses his bag and rushes toward his father before Tara Upton reacts. But after a bang, the youth curls up on the ground and breathes heavily, covering a bleeding ear.
이 자식이 한 번만 더 대들어봐. 다른 쪽 귀까지 잘라버릴 테니까. 가자!
진명이한테 손대지 마! 이 망할 늙은이야!
가자!
Tara Upton runs toward the youth pinned to the floor by his father, but a punch knocks her backward. Jacob Yates is on the floor, unmoving. The man adjusts the switchblade in his hand, looking for his next victim. Is that her blood on the floor? Or does the blood belong to Jacob? She can only hear a roar in her ears and someone screaming vaguely in the distance.
이것들이 죽일 거야. 다 죽여버릴 거야!
예월이 건드리지 마세요. 죽어야 하는 건 아버지겠죠.
Another thunderous bang sounds. A long time passes before the girl manages to get up shakily from the floor. Inches from her, the man lies on the ground face down, still gripping the glinting switchblade. Very quickly, however, the weapon slips from his hand. She flips the man over, but he does not make a sound.
죽은 거야?
일단 진정해. 날 봐.
어떻게 진정해? 내가 죽인 거지. 자수해야 해. 이거다.
싫어.
Tara Upton summons strength that she didn't know she had, and grabs Jacob Yates' shoulders, gripping hard with her bloodied hands.
이 피 보여? 내가 죽인 거야. 저 늙은이가 날 해치려고 해서 내가 먼저 죽인 거라고. 널 그렇게 대하는 게 싫어서 대신 죽여준 거야. 알겠어?
말도 안 돼. 내가...
그럼 경찰서로 가든지. 목격자도 없고 CCTV도 없는데 누가 정확히 밝혀낼 수 있겠어? 우리 둘만 살인범이 돼서 같이 잡혀갈 뿐이지.
싫어. 넌 잡혀가면 안 돼.
Jacob Yates is visibly unnerved when Tara Upton sit together and shakes his head repeatedly.
그럼 사실을 받아들여. 명심해. 오늘 내가 널 위해 사람을 죽였고 앞으로 넌 자유라는 걸. 대신 평생 나랑 함께하면서 내 자유도 보장해줘야 해. 혹시라도 무슨 일이 있으면 날 도주범으로 만들었으니까 보상으로 너도 날 위해 누군가를 처리해줘야 해.
도주?
그래, 우린 친구잖아. 언제나 그랬듯이 너한텐 나뿐이고 나도 너만 있으면 돼.
Yes, they were friends, and before they realized it, the youth's clothes are stained with the same blood that dyed the girl's clothes red. The girl holds onto him despite the nauseating odor of blood. Then, you change your identities and ran away from home.
네, 변호사님. 그거 아세요? 사실 제 진짜 성은 최 씨예요. 예월이가 서 씨고요. 저희는 서로 성씨를 바꿨고 예월이는 저한테 새 이름을 지어줬어요. 자연 현상에서 따온 것 같던데 월진이라고 알아요?
Where they came from, both their names convey strength. After what happened, they had to be strong to carry on. Through some kind of strange connection, you can see why Tara Upton chose these names. Jacob Yates doesn't explain further but carries on speaking after shooting you a look.
저희는 도망치기 전 근처 불량배가 쳐들어온 것처럼 집을 어질렀어요. 김태석은 당시 그 지역에서 꽤 소문난 상습 절도범이거든요. 게다가 저희가 현장을 위조했고 그땐 수사수단에도 한계가 있어서 그 사람에게 죄를 뒤집어 씌우게 됐죠. 아주 조금의 대가만 치르면 됐어요.
Ethan Young points at his right ear. There is a prosthetic ear in place, and only those who know what they're looking for can tell that it's not real. Autumn, on the other hand, is deep in thought and quickly interrupts him to change the topic.
서진명 씨, 당시 최예월 씨와 당신의 상황이라면 법률 지원을 신청할 수 있었을 텐데요. 몰랐나요?
법률 지원이요? 그런 걸 알 리가요. 게다가 당시 상황으로는 예월이랑 저 중에 누가 아버지를 죽였는지 전혀 알 수 없어요. 그리고 아버지의 죽음은 우리에겐 좋은 기회였거든요. 새로운 삶을 살 수 있었으니까요. 그리고 그 새로운 삶에 닿고 나서야 어떤 길을 걷게 되었는지 깨달았죠. 돈도 인맥도 없고 사람의 목숨까지 짊어진 두 미성년자가 살아남으려면 험한 길을 걷는 수밖에 없었어요. 변호사님들, 자유가 어떤 맛인지 아세요? 컨테이너의 녹슨 맛이에요. 처음에 저희는 이리저리 옮겨 다니는 불법 노동자였어요. 그러다 불법 노동자를 운송하는 사람이 되었죠. 정말 이상하죠? 분명 예전에는 아버지한테 한 대만 맞아도 울었었는데 나중에는 누구보다 빨리 적응하고 누구보다 일을 잘했어요. 예월이와의 약속 때문일까요? 모르겠네요.
누구세요?
Tara Upton visibly relaxed and doesn't put away the fried information sheets when she sees that the visitor is Jacob Yates. He doesn't even look at the papers on her desk, most likely because he's no stranger to what or who she's been transporting. Time has taken away his ability to make whatever face he wants. He looks down at the woman sitting at her desk and pushes a photo toward her.
요즘 누가 널 미행하고 있어?
이 사람은 김태석이잖아. 왜 미림시에 있지? 아니지, 어떻게 우릴 찾은 거지?
몰라. 그냥 없애버리면 돼.
Clara Upton, at a loss for words, looks up when she hears the calmness in his voice as if he was talking about the weather. He doesn't stop talking because he knows the plan like the back of his hand.
항상 벗어나고 싶어 했잖아. 애초에 어쩔 수 없이 이렇게 된 거니까. 그냥 안 하면 돼. 널 목숨 바쳐 일하게 만든 사람들한테서 벗어나서 죽은 척하고 섬에 가서 여생을 보내자.
그건 그렇지만
난 약속한 대로 너한테 진정한 자유를 줄 거야.
약속?
It takes Tara Upton a moment to remember. After all, that was so long ago, and even the person who proposed the idea has already buried it under many other memories.
저기 그건 얼떨결에 한 말인 거 알잖아. 널 위해서.
날 위해서?
아무것도 아니야.
He looks a little shaken when she shifts her gaze away. But he remains calm and reassures her.
다른 건 신경 쓸 필요 없어. 내 계획대로만 하면 돼.
진명아,
Jacob Yates races down the dim countryside road in his car while Tara Upton keeps turning her head to look back. The road is bumpy and there is something akin to a box bumping against the inside of the trunk.
같이 가면 안 돼?
Their circumstances have reversed under the night sky. The helpless boy in the house now grips at the steering wheel quietly while the woman, biting her lips, watches him from the rearview mirror. When did it start, or is this the price they must pay for freedom?
위장한 건 순조로웠어요. 그런데 김태석의 배후에 있는 범죄 조직이 결국 우리를 찾아냈죠. 생각나는 모든 방법을 시도해봤어요. 심지어 우리와 돈 거래가 있었던 지인들한테 도와달라고도 해봤죠. 예를 들어 교마의 사람들이라든지.
Matthew Richter. You recall what Jacob Yates looked like when he met Matthew Richter for the first time.
결국 전부 거절당했어요. 다들 저희의 생사는 전혀 상관없고 더 중요한 일이 있는 것 같았어요. 심지어 이런 생각까지 들더라고요. 우리와 김태석은 다른 사람의 도박을 위한 체스말일지도 모른다고요. 그게 아니라면 하필 김태석한테 저와 예월이에 대한 소식이 알려졌을 리 없잖아요? 아마 김태석도 누군가가 부추겨서.
Since these are all speculations, Jacob Yates is deliberately being ambiguous. But you know he's right, because the confession Finn Jackson left proves that someone had been stringing them along. Jacob Yates breathed a sigh of relief after reaching this conclusion.
보이지 않는 악당들이 우리 같은 약자들 사이에 갈등을 만들고 서로 죽이게 해요. 그래야만 그 사람들 사이의 승패를 정할 수 있거든요. 심지어는 목숨까지도요. 그렇죠? 자, 이야기를 다 들으셨으니 예월이가 진짜 범인이 아니라는 것도 아시겠죠? 이제 어떻게 하실 건가요?
The man in front of you is testing you because he is used to keeping secrets while dealing with people. But you're not in the same situation as you were back at the harbor, and you decide to take a gamble after taking a moment to think about it. You summoned us today and talked about wanting legal aid, but what you really want is for me or Mr. Wing to represent our Upton in court, isn't it?
변호요? 저도 그렇게 순진하지는 않아요. 예월이가 김태석을 죽인 게 아니더라도 인신매매와 장기매매 혐의는 벗어날 수 없어요. 범죄자를 변호하는 변호사는 거센 비난을 받잖아요. 물어뜯기는 건 기본이겠죠.
But you...
항구에서 눈치챘거든요. 변호사님들이 김태석 사건 너머에 있는 것들을 조사하고 있을지도 모른다는 걸요. 그게 아니라면 백 변호사님이 일부러 저희와 접촉하기 위해 함정을 만들었을 리 없어요.
He's right again.
그 정보들은 말해도 제가 손해볼 게 없는 것들이에요. 오히려 변호사님들께 도움도 되고 저와 예월이를 조종하려 하는 그 사람한테 한 방 먹일 수 있죠.
금난 계곡에 대해 얼마나 알고 있죠?
Autumn decides to stop beating around the bush and asks the one question that you're most concerned with. Jacob Yates offers no resistance. He shrugs.
저희의 큰 손이죠. 대부분의 거래처가 가명을 사용하거든요. 그런데도 가끔씩 단서가 남아요. 가십거리라고 생각하셔도 되고 거짓말이라 생각하셔도 상관없어요. 미림시의 금난 계곡에서 누군가 주기적으로 실험체를 구입하고 있다. 이건 오래전부터 이쪽 사람들 사이에서 굳이 말하지 않아도 아는 비밀이에요. 금난 계곡 대표로 주문하는 연구원이 있는데 인맥이 아주 넓어요. 양측의 자금 거래를 모두 교모회를 통해 진행하고 싶다고 요구하기도 했어요.
전형적인 자선 단체를 이용한 돈 세탁인가요?
비슷해요. 제가 알고 겪은 건 이게 다예요. 그럼 이제
He suddenly stops. You follow his gaze, and if you're not mistaken, he's focusing on the attorney's badge on your chest. Then he laughs, shakes his head, and looks away. Is there anything else you want to tell us?
이제 없어요.
He quickly answers and waves at the nearest cop before you can see anything. The policeman approaches, so you get up with Artem and get ready to leave. But something strange happens. Jacob Yates is still holding his receiver while you're packing up.
변호사님들,
It almost sounds like it takes him more effort to call out to you two than to confess his crimes. He falls silent again, and the gaze in his eyes softens.
아니에요. 그냥 별 의미 없는 작은 문제일 뿐이에요.
듣고 있어요. 더 하고 싶은 말이 있으시면 기회는 언제든 있어요.
You and Artem wait. Through the glass, you see his lips quiver, but he doesn't make a sound. It's as if the mask he's been wearing for so long is starting to crack now that he's told the whole truth. At last, you see that boy who was knocked down among trash and beer cans right here in front of you.
근데 정말 별거 아니에요. 변호사님들, 만약
As he carefully weighs his words, you almost feel like you've gone back in time. It's still Jacob Yates who's talking to you, but he's simultaneously someone else, his younger self.
만약 아버지가 돌아가신 뒤로 저희가 도망치지 않고 변호사님 말씀대로 법률 지원을 받았더라면 모든 게 달라졌을까요?
You all know, just like he does, that if what if questions were true, the world would be a much nicer place for everyone. Even though he knew he couldn't change the past, the boy still chose to ask the question that was buried deep in his heart, just like when he once thought a feeling of freedom just fell out of reach. Outside the courthouse, you immediately spot Autumn standing under the street light as you hurry around the corner by the courthouse fence. Seeing you running, he checks the time on his phone and walks towards you. Mr. Wing,
왜 이렇게 일찍 왔어요?
I care a lot about the trial today, so I thought I'd come early to check things out. The map said there would be traffic near the courthouse and suggested leaving early, but I didn't expect to arrive this early.
일찍 움직이는 게 맞죠. 저도 오늘 평소보다 조금 빨리 출발했거든요.
After a bit of a long process, you are now just 2 hours away from the start of the trial for the murder of Finn Jackson. After talking to Jacob Yates the other day, Autumn offered to persuade Tara Upton to have him as her defense attorney. You helped put together most of the case files and will be attending the whole trial today.
그럼 같이 갈까요? 유종의 미를 거둬야죠.
Yeah, let's go. He walks ahead and you suddenly feel a warm sense of familiarity wash over you. It was just like this back in the day. He always seems to be walking ahead of you, leading you in the right direction. The police officer has opened the meeting room door. After mumbling his question, Jacob Yates shows no sign of wanting you two to stay any longer. The meeting is over. Just as you are about to leave the room, Artem suddenly stops.
잠깐만요.
He turns back and looks over your shoulder at Jacob Yates. You wonder what he intends to do. He then strikes back and picks up the phone again, and Jacob Yates, still in his seat, picks up his phone in surprise.
서진명 씨. 제가 최예월 씨의 변호사로서 법정에 설 수 있어요.
진짜 그렇게 하고 싶으세요? 어쩌면 욕을 듣고 오해를 받을 수 있는데도요? 저희의 이야기를 듣고 불쌍하게 느껴져서 그러시는 거예요?
Autumn responds with a genuine smile.
저희가 변호사 일하면서 욕 한 번 먹어본 적 없을 거라고 생각하시나요? 지금 제가 내리는 결정은 동정과는 전혀 상관없어요. 전 단지 알아야 할 진실을 모든 사람들에게 알려주고 싶을 뿐이에요.
진실이요?
네. 두 사람조차도 당시 사건의 진상을 확신하지 못하고 있잖아요. 그러니까 우리가 이 문제부터 해결할게요.
Court. Finally, here we are. You're sitting away from Autumn for now in the front row of the gallery. It's not the first time you've watched him working, but the whole scene still intrigues you. Without realizing it, you tighten your fists inside your pockets and pray silently.
지금부터 피고인 최예월의 김태석 살인 사건에 대한 재판을 시작하겠습니다. 검찰 측 사건에 대해 모두 진술해 주세요.
검찰은 피고인 최예월을 기소합니다. 사건 당일 밤 미림시 주민인 피해자 김태석은 교통사고를 낸 후 교외에 버려진 쓰레기 매립지에 자가용을 버리고 도주한 것으로 추정됩니다. 현장 조사에 따르면 경찰은 처음 피해자가 모종의 이유로 승객인 피고인을 살해했을 거라고 추측했으나 이후 여러 검증 끝에 피고인이 피해자를 살해한 진범이고 시체 처리 후 쓰레기 매립지에 버렸다고 판단했습니다. 피고인은 피해자와 개인적인 원한 관계가 있었으며 인신매매와 장기매매 혐의를 받고 있기 때문에 현장을 위조할 수 있는 능력은 충분히 있습니다. 현장에 다른 용의자의 흔적이 없으므로 이 사건은 피고의 단독 범행입니다. 이에 검찰은 피고의 범행 동기가 명확하고 증거가 충분하다고 판단합니다.
Tara Upton remains silent at the defense table. You haven't communicated with her much lately, but according to Artem, it's never easy to have an effective conversation with her. Even so, we still have a strong case. This was what Artem predicted about the trial. Mr. Wing must be right.
피고 측 변호사, 이의 있나요?
있습니다. 피고 측은 검찰이 일부 증거를 잘못 판단하고 있다고 생각합니다. 더 나아가 이 사건의 진정한 범인을 놓치고 있죠.
A big pile of documents are spread out on Artem's table, and they are Artem's office. Mr. Wing, I've organized Jacob Yates' statement. You'll find the transcript and the audio here.
네, 수고했어요.
Artem looks out the window, lost in thought as the colorful lights outside flicker in his desk. You can't resist getting a little closer to him, wanting to ask the question that's been on your mind. Are you thinking about Professor Hume? You can finally share about your feelings now that it's no longer a secret. Artem nods, then shakes his head slightly as if suddenly reminded of something.
조금요? 근데 그 생각만 한 건 아니에요. 과거를 생각하기보다는 이제 더 이상 때를 놓치고 싶지 않아서요.
You see him picking up the files she prepared, and it feels like a part of you is brought to the defense table as well. Maybe this is how it feels to be partners, sharing the same state of mind. The desire to act faster, not missing any opportunity to bring justice and truth to everyone involved in this case. You can feel this earnest feeling right now.
피고인의 전속 기사인 관계인 서진명을 신문했는데 완전히 관계인의 계획에 따라 범행을 저질렀다는 걸 확인할 수 있었습니다. 관계인은 후환을 없애기 위해 피해자 김태석과 개인적인 협상을 빌미로 기회를 틈타 피해자를 살해했다고 인정했습니다. 피고인은 관계인의 지시를 따랐을 뿐이고 사건 당일 밤 항구에 숨어 미림시를 떠날 기회만을 기다리고 있었습니다.
있습니다. 차량이 버려진 현장 증거에 따르면 피고는 틀림없이 피해자의 차를 탔습니다. 실수로 피고인만 갖고 있는 명함을 떨어뜨렸죠. 또한 관계인 서진명은 그날 밤 병원에 있었습니다. 피고만이 범행을 저지를 기회가 있었다는 뜻입니다.
이의 있습니다. 피고인 회사의 실제 경영 상황이 드러난 후에 관계인의 알리바이가 성립될 수 있는지는 차치하고 피해자의 최신 부검 보고서에 따르면 실제 사망 시간은 사건 당일 밤 이전입니다. 고인이 차를 몰 수 있을 리 없고 게다가 사건 현장에 다른 성인 남성이 있었다는 증거가 발견되었습니다. 바로 그 발자국들입니다. 관계인의 진술까지 종합하면 관계인에게는 쓰레기 매립지로 갈 동기가 있었으며 일부 흔적을 남긴 것도 확실합니다.
Cemetery.
같이 와줘서 고마워요.
It takes about a couple of hours to drive from Stellis to the cemetery even if you don't stop midway for gas. You and Artem check the tombstone one by one. Finally, you find the name of Jacob Yates' father, Wayne Upton. Yates mentioned in his statement that he had never come to visit his father's grave. This stands true as it is notably more neglected compared to the others.
서진명의 말이 사실이었네요. 아버지 성이 최 씨예요. 참, 얼마 전에 경찰한테 자문을 구해봤는데요. 재판이 끝나고 사건이 완전히 종결되면 김태석을 고향으로 이장할 거라고 해요. 그러니까 바로 여기요.
As Autumn stands before the grave of Jacob Yates' father, you notice a small bouquet lying on the ground in front of him. As the gentle breeze blows, you watch Autumn as he tilts his head a bit, deep in thought, and you quietly ask him a question. Have you really made up your mind, Mr. Wing? I mean, I can defend Tara Upton together with you, but testifying in court.
이 사건은 처음부터 끝까지 제가 책임져야 한다고 생각해요.
The sky is cloudy, but it isn't raining.
Autumn keeps his head down, looking at the bouquet he just placed on the ground. It gently rustles in the wind. You've never been to this cemetery before, yet standing here, you feel a strange, sorrowful sense of calm. It's as if something inevitable has finally caught up with you, and all you can do is act like the merchant in the appointment in Samara. Stop at that destined moment and face it.
처음엔 노래방 매니저의 의뢰를 받아서 교수님의 행방을 찾으려고 했어요. 제 개인적인 계획이었죠. 이번에 교수님을 찾지 못하더라도 사람들을 위해 법률 대리인이 되어 한때 닿지 못했던 법의 정의를 되찾아 줄 거예요. 어떤 의미로 보면 이것도 교수님과 더 가까워지는 거라 할 수 있겠죠.
For some reason, you chose not to argue and instead step closer to him. The wind is blowing harder now. If you need anything, Mr. Wing, I'll be here for you anytime you need.
알겠어요. 그럼 저랑 같이 좀 걸을래요?
As it turns out, Autumn doesn't need much help from others, and the trial goes as smoothly as he expected. But at the same time, it's a rather cruel kind of success. When the accused is proven not to be the murderer, it means the real culprit must now step forward.
그 밖에 사법감정센터에서 피해자의 과거 사건 중 사망자인 최왕평을 재부검했습니다. 관계인의 아버지이기도 한 고인의 진짜 사인은 그 어떤 외부 요인과도 직접적인 관련이 없는 신경성 쇼크로 인한 사망이라고 합니다.
Autumn had told you that Vin was the one who retrieved the autopsy report from the forensic center. Vin isn't here, but what he did definitely caused a big stir in court. Tara Upton snaps out of her blank daze, suddenly fixing a piercing stare on Artyom.
고인이 누군가와 충돌하면서 미주신경이 자극을 받아 심정지가 일어난 겁니다. 이렇게 사망할 확률은 아주 낮지만 터무니없을 정도는 아닙니다. 쇼크사는 예측 불가하다는 점, 그리고 쇼크사를 일으킨 자극 요인이 일반인에게는 사망에 이르는 정도가 아니라는 점을 고려했을 때 이 행위는 형법에서 정의한 고의적 상해죄에 해당하지 않습니다.
말도 안 돼. 그럼 그때 내가 도망간 게...
Uninterrupted by her whisper, Autumn pushes on.
과거 사건과 피해자 사건의 증거를 종합해 봤을 때 피고 측은 관계인 서진명을 법정에 소환할 것을 요청합니다.
인정합니다. 관계인을 법정으로 소환하세요.
안 돼.
When Jacob Yates appears in front of the crowd, Tara Upton's face notably twists. Yes, as if he is ready to accept anything that will come, nudged at you, then at Artyom. Let it all come to an end.
제 진술 기록은 최예월 씨 변호사님과 경찰 측에 제출했습니다. 제 증언과 다른 증거들 모두 제가 범인이라는 걸...
그만해! 내가 자수하지 말라고 했잖아. 김태석하고 너희 아버지가 날 죽이려고 해서 내가 먼저 죽인 거라고. 설마 우리가 했던 약속 잊은 거야?
아니셨어. 너랑 관련된 일은 절대 잊지 않아. 근데 예월아, 과거의 일을 완전히 해결해야만 진정한 자유를 얻을 수 있어. 그렇게 생각하지 않아? 더 이상 누군가의 꼭두각시가 될 필요도 없고 복수당할까봐 걱정하지 않아도 돼.
그만하라고! 너!
Amid Tara Upton's almost tearful wail, Jacob Yates utters something incomprehensible. It's not a phrase, but more like a name. one that's never been spoken in public and long forgotten, but etched in the boy's memory.
그렇게 부르지 마. 이미 과거는 모두 버리고 자유를 얻었잖아. 아니야? 거짓말쟁이. 거짓말쟁이.
She sounds completely broken. You close your eyes, letting your thoughts drift. It's over. But for you and Autumn, the end is just the start of something new. Inside the car.
이제 일단 집에 데려다 줄까요?
Autumn doesn't stick around after the trial. Instead, you both drive quickly out of the courtroom's underground parking lot. Surprisingly, you don't encounter any media trying to stop you for interviews along the way. As Autumn puts it, he's got a lot of experience evading the spotlight. But you both know very well why. The police have blocked off most of the news about this case for their own sake. For them, it is better to keep the case low-key until the investigations into the White Horse Association and Gladiolus Valley officially begin. Amidst the calm before such a storm, you have your own plans. Actually, before driving me home, I'd like you to go somewhere with me. You search in your briefcase for a while and pull out 2 film tickets. They are well kept with a gilded White Horse Association logo on them. We haven't got a chance to use them yet. Maybe we can find some clues there before the police and the NSB start their official investigations. The first day you met Jacob Yates, you got these tickets through an open-air film screening event from Matthew Richter, who showed up at the White Horse Association for some reason. Autumn nods without hesitation. You feel the seat beneath you tremble slightly as he turns the wheel, heading in the direction of the White Horse Association.
알겠어요. 그런데
Something seems to have crossed his mind. After a brief pause, he lets out a soft, resigned chuckle.
이번 조사의 첫 번째 시련은 윤주혁 씨의 영화 취향을 판단할 수도 신뢰할 수도 없다는 거네요.
Jackson's past case autopsy report. An autopsy report on the victim of the burglary and murder case in which Finn Jackson was involved years ago. It was reissued by the Judicial Forensic Center at the request of Vin Richter. Victim Bryce Thatcher, age 45. Cause of death, Bryce Thatcher died of cardiac arrest after a physical altercation with another person. Another information. Multiple sources have confirmed that Bryce Thatcher and one of the suspects in the case, Chantal Penn, are father and daughter. White Horse Association. By the time you arrive, night has fallen. The White Horse Association is illuminated by numerous brilliant lights. For most people, it's a lovely night indeed. Autumn lets you out and goes to find a parking spot. You stand there looking around. Soon, you hear the grass rustle. Someone's walking towards you across the lawn.
두 분이 정말 야외 상영관에 올 줄은 몰랐네요.
You're not surprised by Vin's presence. Over the past few days, he's been here offering psychological counseling as usual. Richter, will you also be staying for the film?
저는 됐어요. 마무리해야 할 일이 있어서 야근을 좀 해야 하거든요.
I never imagined the day would come when he'd mention doing overtime of his own accord. And there's something else that caught your attention. Finish up, so you won't be coming back to the White Horse Association anymore?
아시잖아요. 이제 굳이 핑계를 찾아 여기 올 필요가 없다는 걸요.
Considering the special nature of the Finn Jackson case, the police and the NSB will take action against the White Horse Association sooner or later. Naturally, the investigation team will be involved again. Right now, it's the calm before the storm for everyone. The thought that many questions will finally be answered excites you, encouraging you to ask more. Actually, there's something else I'd like to ask Dr. Richter. The autopsy report of Jacob Yeats' father that Mr. Wincott, it was you who requested the re-examination, right? You are the only one who's been to the forensic center recently. Vin nods frankly, obviously not trying to hide anything.
맞아요. 저예요. 처음에는 김태석을 보러 간 거였는데 뜻밖에도 많은 사람과 많은 일들을 발견하게 돼서.
Judicial Forensic Center. Vin waits until Matthew Richter's footsteps have completely disappeared before opening the envelope in his hand. It is simply a postcard like those one might find at tourist attractions, with an excessively edited image and an overexposed subject. If not for the text at the bottom reading, "I miss you here" in Spart, and even a local wouldn't believe this snowy landscape was from their hometown. Resisting the urge to stare at this image, Vin flips the postcard over.
견우를 조심해라.
As if he can't believe that's all Matthew Richter had to say, Vin checks the postcard several times. Unsurprisingly, he finds nothing else. His uncle just didn't have the patience to write down more. Right, Finn Jackson mentioned in his confession that a mysterious person had sent him a photo. And even further back, Felicia Luo and Brad Grace had also more or less come into contact with someone. Matthew Richter implied that we should be aware of Jerome Adams. Could it be? To pull an answer from the tangled web of fragmented information, you instinctively look at the brightly lit screening area nearby again. Is it a coincidence or destiny? You see an all too familiar white coat in the crowd. It's Jerome Adams. He has always been there. The answer is nearly within reach. At this very moment, Vin moved his body just enough to block your view. If you just look up a little, you can see his coat swaying lightly in the night breeze with a soft rustle.
제 경험상 그 사람의 생각을 너무 진지하게 추측할 필요는 없어요. 그렇게 똑똑한 사람이 아니거든요. 그래서 윤주혁 씨보다는 어떤 필연적인 일에 더 신경이 쓰이네요.
Like what?
방금 당신이 말했던 그 정체불명의 인물로 예를 들어보죠. 당신의 방식으로 상대가 누구든지 간에 100% 승산으로 잡을 수 있다고 생각하시나요?
My method? For a moment, all you can hear is the whistle of the night breeze. It tousles your hair, blocking your sight, but you can feel that the man before you is looking at you with great certainty. Vin's eyes stay fixated on you, almost as if he's looking beyond you. After a while, he lets out a sigh of relief.
너무 긴장하실 필요 없어요. 말씀드렸듯이 호기심일 뿐이니까요. 이 문제의 답에 대해선 생각할 시간을 드려야 할 것 같네요. 지금까지의 경험상 다른 사람들은 여러 가지 이유로 저한테서 완전한 신뢰를 얻지 못했지만 당신이라면 제가 지켜오던 행동 패턴을 깨버려도 상관없어요.
Vin moves a bit again, this time making way for you. The illuminated film screening area is straight ahead. The film is about to begin at any moment. As he walks past you, you feel him gently patting your shoulder.
그러니까 일단 영화 보고 오세요.
After Autumn comes back, you follow the crowd to a makeshift ticket gate. Also, it is called, but it's actually just a volunteer who is stamping the tickets.
저한테 표 보여주시면 돼요.
If this young man is truly the culprit you believe him to be, you can bring everything to an end by simply exposing his sinful actions and arresting him right here. It would certainly be a simplistic approach to impose justice, neither legal nor rational, as Arthur would say. Unaffected by the way you stare at him, Jerome Adams examines your tickets for a while after stamping them.
이거 우연이네요.
What? He doesn't respond right away. Instead, he folds the corner of your tickets and gives them back to you. Despite being watched warily not just by you alone, he casually puts his hand into his white coat and digs around his pocket for a bit. When he pulls his hand out again, he's holding a ticket between his index and middle fingers.
변호사님들, 저랑 좌석이 붙어 있는 것 같네요.
This is definitely the weirdest film I've ever watched. Sitting in the foldable chair, you can barely concentrate on what is happening on the screen. Kudos to Mr. Wing. How is he watching this? Looking to your left, you see the right side of Artem's face illuminated and shadowed by the changing light from the big screen. And on your right is Jerome Adams, who sat down just 1 minute before the film started and seems to be really enjoying the film as well. His pretense doesn't last long. Soon he begins to whisper to you.
변호사님, 최근 뉴스 보셨나요?
What news?
법정에 나가느라 바빠서 아직 못 보셨나 보네요. 곧 한 거물이 금난 계곡을 살펴보러 올 거래요. 대외적으로는 관례적인 행사라고 하지만 제 많은 동료들은 긴장 상태죠.
You suddenly have the feeling that there are people watching your entire investigation team's moves, and Adams is just one of them. Noticing that he's trying to get something out of you, you play it cool and speak casually. Really? Then what about you?
사실 저도 그런 분위기를 피하려고 임시 검표원으로 아르바이트를 하러 온 거예요. 이런 일에는 적응하지 못할까 봐 걱정했는데 꽤 빨리 적응한 것 같네요. 만약 나중에 연구원 일을 못하게 되면 영화 관련 직업으로 바꾸는 것도 좋겠어요?
As if you're just having a normal chat, Jerome Adams casually flattens the folded corner of his ticket and folds it back again as he speaks. Autumn soon notices this action. He gives you a confused look and then looks at Jerome Adams' hands again. You thought Jerome Adams would try to strike up a conversation with Autumn as well, but he says nothing and seems to be totally immersed in the film. Still doubtful, Autumn glances at his own ticket, which is folded the same way. Mr. Wing? He doesn't respond. As if blocking out everything around him, Autumn fixates his gaze on that ticket, which was given to him by you and stamped by Adams. Unable to resist your curiosity, you lean over toward him. Is it Greek? That stamp, which was tucked away in the folded corner, looks like some really odd text. Not knowing how to spell and interpret it, you can only stare at it in vain. Artem is probably the only person here who can make sense of it at first glance. What? When people come across text that they can't understand, they often feel a natural urge to copy the way it's written. That's exactly what you're doing now, tracing slowly with your right index finger across your left palm. Soon the warm touch of your fingertips stirs up memories. It is...
제가 교수님이랑 사용했던 암호예요. 그리스어 구문으로 이루어져 있죠. 뜻은 난 여기에 있다고요.
That night by the rooftop pool, Autumn drew a very similar mark on your palm. Each stroke now feels so familiar. Then you hear him say,
교수님을 찾았어요. 근데 어떻게 해야 다시 데려올 수 있을까요?
as the past and present begin to converge, time rushes backward in a powerful current. The boundaries between different moments start to collapse until the full picture is revealed.
뭐? 그게 네 계획이라고?
The same film is playing, with each explosion perfectly synchronized in timing and sound. Just like before, Adams doesn't watch the entire film, but is more interested in the person he is watching it with.
생각하신 대로예요, 교수님. 내가 네 편에 서기만 하면 적당한 때를 찾아 은후에게 내 소식을 전해준다는 거냐? 맞아요. 바로 만날 수는 없겠지만 적어도 저희가 스승을 찾고 있는 백은호 씨의 초조함을 덜어줄 수는 있죠. 저희? 네, 저희 두 사람이 함께하는 일이니까요. 교수님이 제 편에 서서 제가 가져온 이 서류를 열어보시기만 하면 언젠가는 분명 백은호 씨와 제대로 소통할 수 있는 기회를 얻으실 수 있을 거예요. 약속할게요.
Under the flickering light of the film, no one can tell whether Neil Hume actually reaches out his hand. Everything is concealed by the film, but all of it will resurface along with the film in the future.
넌 정말 무모한 인간이구나. 그래, 그럼 네가 무슨 꿍꿍이인지 한번 보자고. 김태석? 그게 무슨...
Neil Hume flips through the pages in the file. It is not hard for those backing a hoodlum to stage a cover-up. In fact, this job is so simple to the point of being weird.
맡은 일만 잘해주시면 다른 건 제가 알아서 할게요. 석 교수님, 언젠가는 교수님이 오늘 이 순간에 얼마나 큰 폭풍을 일으켰는지 깨닫게 되실 거예요. 백은호 씨든 저든 교수님께 감사하게 될 거고요.
On opposite side of the screen, where the film continues to play, the professor and his students seem as if they can see each other through the shifting images. Neil Hume certainly knows it. He might have seen through the screen, his gaze swiftly traveling through time towards some future endpoint.
교수님,
The truth is completely revealed before Artem. The very wish he's been holding on to is unexpectedly fulfilled the moment he finally decides to accept the reality. Eventually, he finds his professor in the most unlikely way. After all, his professor has been nearby the entire time and was one of the people who caused this series of events.
여태 교수님이
참, 견우. 그때가 되면 은후에게 이 말도 전해줘.
He has already made up his mind long before he speaks. All that has to be done now is to send his thoughts from the past to the present.
네가 하고 싶은 대로 하렴, 은후야.
He might still wish to see him, even hoping he'd linger a bit longer before leaving. But they both have other priorities and responsibilities, thus saying goodbye becomes an inevitable part of this reunion.
이만 가봐야겠군. 내가 없으면 안 되는 일이 있거든. 그러니까 더 이상 날 돌아보지 않아도 돼.
Is asked if the film understands that this is a significant moment and wants to give it a proper closure as it reaches the final monologue. To be honest, Matthew Richter did choose a terrible film. It is almost incomprehensible to the general audience, yet for those burdened by heavy thoughts, it provides some solace hidden beneath its cool exterior. Anticipate each goodbye as if it were already behind you like a winter that's past. Because underneath these winters is such an interminable winter that only by hibernating can your heart survive. From Sonnets to Orpheus by Rainer Maria Rilke. Outside the White Horse Association. The film has ended and you can only imagine what Artem has seen beyond the images. As for Jerome Adams, he had left long before Artem surfaced from his trance. Goodbye, Artem says, his voice imbuing the simple word with layers of meaning. As you stand under the streetlight thinking the whole thing over, you suddenly feel enlightened. Here, Mr. Wayne. Artem's car slowly makes a turn and stops in front of you. Pedestrians look curiously at its dark windows. A sport car like this is unusual even for the busy downtown area. Mr. Wing says all of his other cars are undergoing maintenance, so... You didn't give much thought to riding in a sport cars while you drove here. Maybe it was because there weren't many people at the courthouse and you were just focused on the trial. But now, as you watch when Artem, who just stepped out of the driver's seat and was lit by the soft glow of neon lights, you feel a slight unexpected shyness fluttering through you.
제가 데려다 줄게요.
Okay, thank you. Huh? Perhaps he was walking too fast, or it may have already been loose while you were watching the film. A metal round object fell from his jacket and rolled toward your feet. Mr. Wing, your badge. Beneath the starry night sky, the senior attorney's badge, which features a small embossed scale, shimmers with a soft, almost dreamlike glow. Though not anticipating this, Artem simply smiles and crouches down without hesitation.
제가 주울게요.
He gently picks the badge up, but doesn't stand up afterward. He looks down at the scale with a calm, gentle expression, with no doubt or sadness in his eyes. That golden scale seems to have made him forget everything else around him, showing him people and things you've yet to reach. In a rush of overwhelming emotion, you find yourself wanting to crash down and meet his gaze with your own. But before you can do that, he looks up at you. With a knee still on the ground, Artem holds the badge up to your eyes as if he wants you to see it clearly. Perhaps one day you will receive the same badge. Mr. Wing? Unsure of what's on his mind, you speak in a very soft voice. Hearing your whisper, Artem lets out a relaxed sigh, and his eyes appear to convey the message. Let him speak.
당신한테 고맙다는 말 해주고 싶어요. 당신이 또 한 번 그 위험한 절벽에서 절 끌어내주고 어떤 길을 가야 하는지 확신시켜줬어요.
Dangerous cliffs?
사실 그렇게 되물어볼 필요 없어요.
The expression on his face is so familiar that it transports you back in time almost instantly. It was at the port at sunset. You had discovered Jacob Yates' secret and you could get him if you pushed just a little bit further.
사실 항구에서 서진명이랑 대치했을 때 저한테 제안도 하고 교수님에 대한 모든 걸 알려주려고 했었잖아요. 조금도 흔들리지 않았다고 하면 거짓말이에요. 틀린 말이 아니었거든요. 그리고 제가 말한 적 있듯이 교수님을 찾아서 무사히 데려올 수만 있다면 전 어떤 대가도 치를 수 있어요. 심지어는
Say no more. You slightly shake your head, stopping him from confessing more. For someone with extremely high morals like Artem, he risks blaming himself too much. I know, Mr. Wing, and I don't think what I did was a heroic move that stopped you from changing. We're all human, and it's only natural that we can never completely suppress our feelings. In sharing these emotions, we form bonds that connect us to one another. In the gentle night breeze, you find yourself moving closer to Artem. He is still holding up the badge, and you can take it if you simply reach out. As if having predicted your next move, he looks at the embossed balance at the same time you do. It is tinted with bright colors from the neon lights. It is so small that it can be easily lost in this big city, yet you can feel the power it emits. This power, which used to belong to Neil Hume and Artem, is now shared by you and many others. You see, nothing is ever truly balanced or perfect, right? Like procedural justice, we strive for it even when we know someone is guilty. We can't just ignore the process and act on impulse.
네, 맞는 말이에요. 이 모든 걸 받아들이는 법을 배우고 공존하면서 마음속 이상을 지켜내는 것이야말로 앞으로 인생의 영원한 과제일지도 몰라요.
That's right. So, you take a deep breath, ready to see what you've wanted to tell him the most. Would you like to make another deal with me, Mr. Wing?
물론이죠.
I promise you, I will make sure the real culprit gets what they deserve in the near future. So, in the meantime, you just do what you have to do. Deal? Unlike before when you were both by the rooftop pool, he replies right away, almost as if he has been waiting for this question.
약속할게요.
Despite knowing that things will always be uncertain and ever-changing from now on, he still chooses to believe in you and embraces the future you have selected. Autumn pins the badge back onto his suit jacket and lets out a rare sigh of relief.
이상하네요.
What? The badge?
당연히 그건 아니고 그냥 배지 때문에 다른 일이 좀 떠올라서요. 배지를 봐요. 이론상 저울을 들고 정의와 질서를 관장하는 여신은 어느 쪽의 편도 들지 않아야 해요. 그렇게 해야만 사건을 일으킨 범인에게 제일 합당한 결과를 줄 수 있거든요. 그런데 저희는 종종 신이 언제나 우리 편이기를, 언제나 신에게 인정받기를 바라죠.
Is he really just talking about the goddess? As Autumn speaks, the giant advertising screen behind him flashes with shifting, dreamlike light, its colors constantly changing. Only in a mesmerizing moment like this can the boundary between the badge and the meaning it represents begin to blur, evoking greater imagination. You just can't help but stare at it for a prolonged time. In my opinion, Mr. Wing, as long as we and the goddess of justice have the same pursuit, she will never be far from us. Just like the two ends of the scale, we're always connected by something, in case we drift too far from the virtues we pursue. Gladiolus Valley. In one corner of the dim room, glass test tubes are smashed onto the floor, breaking into shards that sparkle like stars. Yet even that is not enough to satisfy his rage. Wilson Storch raises the foot, about to grind the shards beneath it. As if noticing how well he looks in the reflection of the shattered glass, he quickly pulls himself together and steadies his breathing.
다 지네가 옳은 줄 아는 바보 같은 놈들 뿐이야. 정기 검사라고 통보하더니 뭐라도 찾아낼 수 있는 것처럼 군단 말이지.
선생님, 저 찾으셨어요?
Jerome Adams appears from the shadows by the door. He walks quietly, keeping his gaze fixed on the stern-faced Wilson.
원래 계획대로 해. 뒤처리 잘하고 내가 약물 연구 성과를 해외 실험실로 무사히 가져가기 전까지 더 이상의 실수는 용납할 수 없어. 내 말 알아들었겠지?
지금까지는 전부 순조로워요.
큰 소리 치지 마. 처음에 맨날 근무하다가 마음대로 실험실에서 나가서 쓸데없는 짓을 하던 게 누구더라?
적어도 가까운 시일 내에는 아무 문제 없을 거예요.
Jerome Adams stresses this point once more.
선생님이 시키신 대로 정리했으니까요. 연구에 전혀 도움되지 않는 사람들은 하루라도 빨리 정리하는 게 좋아. 라고 하셨죠?
As if probing something to his professor, he carefully enunciates every word. Wilson Soldiers' face twitches slightly. He narrows his eyes in displeasure, fixing his gaze on Adams, whose smile remains unchanged.
원래 계획대로 약물 보관실 출입키를 받으러 왔어요.
Unlike Adams, Wilson Solch prefers to stay in his lab, overseeing everything from behind the scenes. To keep that control, one must manage their temper and stay level-headed. He quickly regains his composure, or at least he appears to.
이리 와.
For security purposes, the so-called drug storage room is now used exclusively for important samples and can be directly accessed from Wilson Soldiers' office. He unlocks the door with a beep, only to realize that Adams hasn't followed him immediately as he had expected.
뭐 하는 거야? 꿈을 대기는.
Every second of waiting tests his patience. So, without further ado, Adam promptly walks over to the storage room and goes inside.
아무것도 아니에요. 그냥 문단속을 잘해야겠다고 생각하고 있었어요.
The door closes and silence resumes in Wilson Soldiers' office. No one can hear a sound from the other side of the office either. Adams operates the controls in front of the monitor for a moment, taps the microphone nearby, and then takes a step back. The monitor is still black, but the flickering red light on the keyboard indicates that it's connected.
이쪽은 다 끝났어요.
끝났다고?
The sound of a glass gently tapping on the table is faintly heard through the speaker. It sounds as if the person on the other end of the call is pouring something into the glass, reflecting on Adam's words, and then finishing the drink in one swift gulp.
말투 보니까 확신이 있나 보네.
도와줄 사람을 많이 찾았거든요. 금난 계곡의 중요한 자료는 전부 옮겨서 나중에 경찰이나 국정원에서 조사해도 쓸모없는 것들만 발견할 거예요.
어쨌든 모든 죄를 덮어쓸 사람이 필요하지 않나? 그렇지 않으면 조사하러 온 녀석들이 미친 개처럼 여기저기 코를 들이밀 테니까 말이야.
말씀하신 죄를 덮어쓸 사람도 준비되어 있습니다. 시간이 없어서 직접 오지는 못하지만 앞으로 약간의 마무리 작업만 하면 될 것 같습니다. 장담합니다.
어이,
It's Matthew Richter. He's been in the room the whole time since Adams entered the room and connected the call, leaning against a shadowed corner with his arms crossed. Seeing that Matthew intends to interrupt the conversation, Adams lowers his voice and says something to the other caller before pressing the mute button. After all, the person on the other end of the call doesn't need to hear any of the upcoming complaints.
왜 그러세요?
다 네가 해낸 것처럼 말하네? 모든 죄를 고유진한테 뒤집어 씌우려고 내가 힘들게 유지해온 거래체인도 바쳤는데 말이야.
윤주혁 씨의 손해는 정말 유감입니다. 하지만 저희에게는 꼭 감수해야만 하는 일이에요. 선생님이 먼저 움직이지 않으시면 윤주혁 씨의 신변이 제일 먼저 위협받지 않을까요? 지금 무사히 탈출도 했고 인신매매랑 장기매매 혐의도 벗으셨잖아요. 사람들 눈에는 그저 자선 영화 관람회에 빠져 있고 일이 잘 되면 외국으로 휴가도 떠나는 사업가일 뿐이에요. 그러니까 좋은 쪽으로 생각하세요.
Matthew Richter does not appear to be fully convinced as he continues to grumble about property laws and other issues. Ignoring his complaints, Jerome Adams gradually tells him something new.
참, 제가 확인해봤는데 상당한 액수의 배상금을 받게 되실 것 같아요.
배상?
여기서요.
Adams points to the calling device.
이제 통화 가능하다고 하시네요. 그리고 아직 만난 적은 없지만 미림시 밖에서 만날 수 있길 기대한다고 하셨어요.
Adams steps aside, making way for Matthew Richter to approach the monitor, becoming the second person to talk to the one on the other end of the call. Still wary of Adams, he mutters a word through his teeth as he walks past him, thinking it won't be heard.
변태 자식.
Adams keeps walking, acting like he didn't hear it. Silently, he walks past Matthew Richter and disappears behind the door.
King. The culprit who's desperately trying to frame Finn Jackson for this may have some smarts, but not much to speak of. Raven, they have a rather unusual modus operandi. How did they even get their hands on those organs to throw us off our trail? Adjudicator, is there a more in-depth report? Otherwise, I will make time to drop by the Judicial Forensic Center. Libra, the items at the crime scene may not speak to us, but I know for sure that we'll find the truth among them. King, human trafficking and organ trade, first a criminal organization and now Tower Upton. The NSB's on a roll lately. Libra, Tower Upton's company is often in close contact with the White Horse Association. We should also keep a close watch on that charity organization. Raven, Reed, working overtime at the NSB. Adjudicator, Reed, just arrived at the Judicial Forensic Center. We'll squeeze the White Horse Association into my itinerary later. Libra, that wrapped things up for this somewhat belated legal representation for Jacob East in Dara Upton. Thank you all for your assistance during this period. Adjudicator, no trouble at all, no need for special thanks. King. But closing the case on this is also a start of something else. Somehow feel that we'll reach our ultimate goal a lot sooner than expected as long as we keep up our resolve. Raven, maybe the other authorities have already begun their investigation into Gladiolus Valley. That will be our next target to follow up closely on. I can't remember this. Libra, a heinous evildoer in every sense of the word, staked his life when he allowed a mysterious person to manipulate him. He finally learns the truth that he has been pursuing all this while. Adjudicator, although he still does not get to see the complete picture even at the end of it all. But even so, there was no other better option known to him. Reality can be this absurd at times. King, mysterious person? Why does that sound familiar? Raven, mysterious person may very well be someone we all know. Jacob Yates, male, 28, occupation chauffeur employed under Samara e-commerce. Known to others as an employee at Tara Upton's company and her personal chauffeur, Jacob Yates was in reality the operator of a human trafficking ring alongside Upton, her accomplice. He had previously gotten into a heated fight with his father that led to the latter's death. Under the impression that he had killed his father, Yates gave in to Upton's urging and framed Finn Jackson for the crime instead. He then fled with Upton, only to end up in an illegal trade to get by. When Jackson appeared on his radar yet again years later, Yates assumed that Jackson was back to exact revenge on Upton. Deciding it would benefit him to make the first move, Yates murdered Jackson and misled the police into believing Upton was also killed in the brawl with Jackson. According to his plan, the news of Upton's death would allow them to free themselves from the human trafficking ring, but things failed to go as expected, leading to his and Upton's arrest at Stellis Harbor. In his confession, Yates admitted to premeditating the brutal murder of Jackson on his own. Libra, Yates and Upton once had several options laid before them, but they allowed their flawed perception and the circumstances then enslaved them onto the precise path of no return. That is probably the very choice that caused things to spiral into this tragedy. Adjudicator. The people yearning for freedom ended up walking away from freedom. King. Now that I think about it, Yates had surprisingly keen intuition and insight. Should we try asking about Gladiolus Valley and White Horse Association again? Raven, already on our agenda. Wayne Upton, male, 45, unemployed. Jacob Yates' biological father, an unemployed divorcee with a history of chronic alcoholism, met with an unexpected and sudden death during a fight with his son, Jacob Yates and Tara Upton. For a long period of time, his corpse has been stored at Stellis Judicial Forensic Center as none of his next of kin came forth to claim his body upon his death. Adjudicator, an absurd end to an absurd life. King, I still can't bring myself to be sorry for him. Raven, now that the case is closed, the police and the Judicial Forensic Institute will arrange for a simple burial. But someone seems to have already visited his grave. They even left behind flowers. Libra, me, I dropped by before the trial with flowers. Tara Upton, female, 28, founder of Samara e-commerce. An entrepreneur and avid philanthropist who has started her business from scratch in Southeast. Tara Upton had extensive collaboration with the charitable organization White Horse Association and was a recipient of multiple accolades for her charity events. Beneath all that on the surface, she had been in fact involved in illegal human and organ trafficking and was known to have dealings with several research institutes. In terms of her personal life, Upton was in high school when she and Jacob Yates got into a physical altercation with the latter's father, one that eventually caused his sudden death. Believing herself and Yates to be responsible for this death, they pinned the blame on Finn Jackson to clear themselves of murder before skipping town. To prevent investigators from catching up to them, they took on new identities and found their way into the human trafficking ring as a means of survival. When they subsequently realized that Jackson had learned of Upton's presence in Sally's and was planning to approach her, Yates decided it was time to uproot this latent threat once and for all. He got Upton to feign her death and used that as an opportunity to free themselves from the trafficking ring's business. Upton then smuggled into and hid at the Stellar's harbor following Yates' instruction, where she was ultimately discovered and arrested. King, who would have expected all these events to be connected to so many other parties, is exactly as one of those professors said in class. The past never dies, in fact, it never ever goes away. Adjudicator, commendable, keep it up. You are better off paying attention in class than fiddling with your earphone. This mention of earphones remind me of something. Raven, what earphones?